And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicenda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. We're a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is that amazing designers could find great players who love their games, and that great players could find amazing designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but one of my favorite ones is actually just sitting down with the designers of different games and getting a chance to play with them. Today, we are playing The Price of Coal by Jennifer Attic. And Jennifer, go ahead and tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, but tell us a little bit about The Price of Coal.
Hey, I'm Jen. Thank you so much for having me. So you can find me mostly on Twitter at JenCatWrites, JenKatWrites. I tweet a lot about bad movies and pictures of my cat. It's great.
Things I love.
Yeah. So The Price of Coal is a game about the Battle of Blair Mountain and the West Virginia Coal Wars, which we have just passed the centennial anniversary of in 1921. This is a story-based game. We're going to do some card-based prompts. We're going to do some character relationships, and it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a sad time, but it's going to be a great time.
For people who are not familiar with the Battle of Blair Mountain, can you give us just like the elevator pitch on that moment in history?
Yeah, so in 1921, a group of coal miners in West Virginia went on strike, and the United States responded by bringing in aerial bombers from World War I and dropping gas and explosive bombs on the striking miners.
Awesome. You know.
Yeah, as you do. Just great.
And just also to everybody, happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day.
For our U.S. viewers. So that's what we're going to be diving into, is that story, that experience. I know that some of us have done some research on that period of time. Others, like me, are coming into this totally cold. But I love the idea behind this game. I actually have not learned about it because I want to see it unfold in play a little bit more and be able to talk about that experience also, too. And so I'm super excited to dive into it. But let's meet some of our other players. Joining us again, we have Parrish. I don't know why I couldn't think of your name. Sometimes, okay, my best friend's name is Colin Parrish, and sometimes I want to call you Colin because you're also both very handsome, and so it's just a a consequence of your own good looks. But Parrish, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Thanks. My name is Parrish Danforth, and I'm the creator of the gateway RPG, Altera: Age of Exploration. You can go to my website to get a copy, for a print and play copy for free, or you can get this physical copy of the cards. It came out about a year ago, and it's all card-based, so you don't need character sheets, so it's super easy to know what you're going to do on your turn. So it's a great way to get your friends or kids started playing RPGs. We just broke 1,000 sales.
Yay!
And I'm hoping this month or next month to launch a Kickstarter for like a full board game version that comes with all the cards plus dice and a whole bunch of maps. And a ton of miniatures and everything that you'll need to play and get started role-playing. So if you're looking for that, you can get it, again, free at explorealtera.com.
Awesome. I have played the game and it is an absolute blast, and I'm looking forward to being able to support it when it goes live also. And then we have, right above Parrish, we have El Jefe himself. Jeff, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, and what you're up to.
What's up? I'm Jeff Richardson, also known as El Jefe. I do Shattered Worlds RPG, The War for the Tower, and we're doing a bit of a rebranding. Everything is Awesome is now becoming Foolish Wits. That's a Shakespeare reference. We talk about it a lot. Smart, silly, fun. That's the vibe on my shows, so check them out.
Cool.
We started a new live stream every other Thursday. We're called Shattered Worlds RPG. Look us up.
Sweet. Well, I am super excited to dive in. Before we get started, one of the things I love about both this game as well as a lot of the games we play is that they have a number of safety tools that they use to help make sure that we stay on the rails and kind of help guide the conversation. We usually just use lines, veils, and the X card on this channel anyways, but lines are things that may happen in the world but don't happen throughout the course of our game or the play that we're sitting down to do. Veils are things that are handled kind of in a specific way. We might flash forward through them. We don't dwell on them if they come up in play, but they're things that can come up in play. And the X card is the ability to pause the game at any time, really just to get clarity or to name that there's an issue that that is bothering you in some way, shape, or form. We only stop long enough to identify what the issue is. There's no explanation required, and then we just move forward in a different direction. It could be the name of a character. It could be some of the content that comes up. Also, everyone playing here is a human being, so if you see somebody who needs to get up, take a drink, move around at some point in time, that's all normal human behavior, and it's okay, even if we're on stream also too. We will take a break about halfway through our session though, so we can all get up and do all the normal human things that we might need to. Also, you should take a break if you need one also too, anytime you want. With that said, are there any lines or veils that anyone specifically wants to name for our play today? Or actually, let's start with Jen. Jen, what are some things that are going to come up during the course of the game that people might want to be aware of?
Yeah, so one of the things I always like to make sure people are aware of that some of the less avoidable themes of the game include poverty, illness, and violence. This is a game about an event where the state inflicted terrible violence upon its citizens, and that is kind of unavoidable in a sense. We can't really write that out of the game. But that is really the main thing that would be potentially triggering or upsetting to folks, which I totally get. For myself personally, I would line any kind of child abuse or child mistreatment.
Cool. All right. Jeff or Paris, anything y'all want to add to the list also?
One of my veils is always poop stuff, but I doubt that's going to come up tonight.
Totally fair.
Awesome. Cool. And again, remember, all those things are consistent things that can come up in play. So if we need to add something to the list as we go, we absolutely can. The game is usually played in like a tarot-sized deck. It's very much in the model of For the Queen, if people are familiar with it at all. It's a storytelling game, so we're not going to sit around rolling a lot of dice or anything. We're gonna talk through the story in a series of rounds and narratives and prompts. I'm going to hand things over to Jen to be able to do that. Before I do that, I'm going to drop a link in the chat for anybody who's watching right now, or if you type in !KS, it'll take you to that link right below my face, which is ttrpg.link/CoalKS, and that'll take you right to the campaign. Also, if you're watching later, or if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, the link's in the description as well.
So fancy.
Oh, wait, maybe I put the game, !the game, if you want to bring it up. Sorry.
Yeah, I really like how the game cover art, how you have it behind us on the stream. It looks
always.
nice.
I always try to make us look, as beautiful as we all are, I try to make us look even better with just, solid graphic design. And that's art from the game. It's a really beautiful cover and picture. And so, but yeah, with that said, Jen, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you kind of take us into the game.
All right. So I will say this right off the bat. One thing that I love when games have scripts for introducing new players to them. So I'm going to go to the little script that I wrote. The Price of Coal is a story game about the West Virginia coal wars in the year leading up to the Battle of Blair Mountain. Together, we will explore the lives of the coal miners and their loved ones as they fight for their rights and for their union. This is a tragic game with no winning. There is no way to avert the final battle in the story we will tell. Our characters can only support and care for each other as best as they can. The events of this game include poverty, illness, and violence. We, the players, will also support and care for each other as we navigate these themes. We will check in with each other, use safety tools, and respect the importance of player comfort and agency over the importance of the game. Place the X card on the table where everyone can reach it. We're going to use our imaginations to pretend that we're all around a nice table together. But look, we have our X cards here. Thank you. Use the X card to calibrate the tone and content of your game. If anything in the game makes you uncomfortable or crosses a personal boundary, tap the X card or say, I'm X carding that. That content is removed from the game, no questions asked. All right, I'm going to skip over some of the setup stuff. Normally, in an in-person game, I would like pass the cards around and we would share some of this stuff. I can't pass you these cards through the computer, so I'm just going to read them off myself, much as I would love to. All right. So when we finish the rule cards, we're going to go to character setup. We're going to place all of the miner characters, the coal miners, face up where everyone can see them, and each player will select which coal miner they want to play, going around the table till we've each chosen. Then we'll go through and do the family characters in reverse order, snake style. I always think of it as Catan style because I can't get that thought out of my head, but you know what I mean. You'll want to choose a character from 2 different players for each of your characters to have a relationship with. Going around the table 1 character at a time, ask and answer the relationship questions on each character card. Discuss your answers aloud with each other, writing the answers down as you go if you wish. An individual player's characters do not need to have a relationship established because both characters will not appear in the same scene. I'm not going to ask you to play 2 characters in one scene. That would be a little silly.
I was going to ask you because the 2 characters I was going to play are family members, and so that would be weird.
This is the Jeff scene. This is all about getting into Jeff's mind space.
I could do it.
This is the one-man show. So we will begin play by reading the introduction text cards. These will give some of the historical context for the game. We don't need a lot of historical background for this game. One thing I always wanted to emphasize is that it's not about historical accuracy. You don't need to know, oh, this is how much a sack of potatoes cost in 1921. What matters is that you could afford it last week and you can't afford it this week. The active player each turn will frame the scene, providing context for which characters are participating in the scene, where it's taking place, and what's going on during the scene. The active player can ask for suggestions from other players for framing the scene. A scene is played like a conversation where players say what their characters do and speak for them. Leave room for everyone to speak, but don't be afraid to describe the detail of small moments and actions. Scenes should typically take a few minutes to play. End the scene when the prompt on the card is resolved. If you would all like to pretend that I'm passing you cards again, I'm going to give you each 2 interlude cards. You can play these at any time out of turn order to create a little separate scene between 2 characters. Let's say, me and Parrish's characters didn't appear in the last scene, but it led to something that maybe we want to explore with our characters. So one of us could play an interlude card at that moment to create a little separate scene. The game and the story end when the ordnance card is drawn. After this final scene, everyone may choose to narrate an epilogue or a conclusion for their characters. And that's about all of the rules. It is pretty straightforward because we wanted to fit it on cards.
Cool. Perfect. Did anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I know I went through that pretty quick, but.
All right. Well, then why don't we go ahead and start?
Yeah.
Jenna, do you want to kind of lead us off?
Yeah, so I'll start with that historical introduction text. You can sort of have these things in mind while we do our characters. So in 1920, the coal miners of West Virginia faced shameful living conditions and even worse working conditions. The coal companies controlled everything in the remote towns, cut off from the rest of the world but for a single train line in and out. Access to housing, education, and doctors were fully governed by the companies. Miners were paid subsistence wages despite high profits, or even paid only in scrip, which could only be used at the company-owned store. Within the mines themselves, workers experienced frequent cave-ins and other dangerous accidents as the operators were reluctant to reduce production for the sake of safety. When whispers of unionization began to arise in the mountains, the coal companies responded harshly. They employed the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency, or company gun thugs, to violently and cruelly enact the company's will upon the miners. In the spring of 1920, a group of Baldwin Felts agents were sent to carry out an eviction. They were resisted by Sid Hatfield, the police chief of Matewan, West Virginia. Events escalated from there, spiraling into the declaration of martial law and the 1921 assassination of Sid Hatfield, who had by then become a local icon and a leader to the miners throughout the region. Martial law was declared in Mingo County due to the unrest. Miners from neighboring counties gathered in the thousands to march to bloody Mingo County with the aim of liberating their compatriots. Many of them were veterans of World War I, which was supposed to be the war to end all wars. In response, federal troops were dispatched to Blair Mountain, including aerial bombers equipped with leftover gas and explosive bombs from the Great War. Days of guerrilla warfare followed, during which as many as 100 miners were killed for the crime of wanting a better life. The miners were eventually forced to lay down their weapons and return to their homes, with nearly 1,000 arrests for treason in the days and weeks that followed. Sympathetic juries led to few convictions, one mercy in the aftermath. The Union was severely weakened in West Virginia, unable to negotiate for better conditions for the workers they represented. Over time, marginal improvements were made towards the worst of the dangers the miners faced, but the Battle of Blair Mountain was no victory for workers' rights. The fallout of the battle and the dominance of the coal companies are still felt to this day. So with that cheerful note in mind, I told you it was a sad game.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
How at what point in, because I mean spoilers, like at what point do we start playing?
We're starting playing a year before the battle itself starts.
Where is that in the timeline that you just read? Has Hatfield been assassinated yet?
It's sort of up to us. It doesn't come up a ton in the play of the game itself.
Okay.
But most likely, yes.
It's like here are the things that's happening in the world.
Eviction, yeah.
Yep.
He is probably in a position of power and in a leadership position within the Union locally.
Cool. So Hatfield isn't dead yet.
Probably not yet, actually.
Okay. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know if we're looking up to him as a
we probably
leader
are.
or we're looking up to him as a martyr.
Probably not a martyr yet.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah, and the events of the game, because they are random shuffle, may not play out exactly like real life.
Sure.
But the battle is always looming over us. All right, so
we're going to be the only players that ever win
the Battle of Blair Mountain.
I have a feeling
we win workers' rights.
We're gonna OSR this into like a funnel where they can't possibly overcome us because we've been maxed our levels. So I think that framing's really great though, and it's also like I do love it. It also brings in the play of like, hey, here are things that are happening in the larger world that are impacting you, but when you're in a small town and when you're dealing with day-to-day realities, like those things may or may not come up no matter how big of a deal they are to the rest of the world. And so I love that feel.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right. So let's go ahead and start with picking out our characters. So I'm actually not sure what order we are sitting on Twitch. I only have one monitor.
You can take it up in whatever order you want. And actually, I think we are in the identical order that you see us on screen, which is fairly rare, but apparently I've managed it. So.
All right. So I'm going to have us go Tony, Jeff, Parrish, me for picking out the minor character.
Okay.
So Tony, if you want to pick your minor first.
I know we talked about some people wanted beforehand. I think I'm going to take John Bailey, and look, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to pop John Bailey's picture up on screen. It's that beard. That beard is what's doing the heavy lifting right there, as far as my minor goes. So yeah, John Bailey is a young coal miner married to Sarah Bailey. John is an idealist who believes that things can and will get better if the miners unite, but in private at home, he is at odds with his wife. And so then there's the character questions down below.
And it's funny. One of my friends was like, that one really looks like Thor, right? And I'm like, yes.
I do know that. And so.
All right. Jeff.
Yo, I'm rocking Kit Parsons.
Awesome.
Do I read this
Yeah,
part
if you want to read it.
Kit Parsons is a non-binary coal miner, the older sibling of Hannah York. Kit Parsons has been pretending to be a man since their teenage years in order to support their family with mining. They have developed a valuable reputation for keeping their calm in a crisis. They are loyal, perhaps to a fault.
Perhaps. Parrish, who are you thinking?
I'll play Andre Pellegrini.
Cool.
Let me scroll down. Andre Pellegrini is a coal miner, father of Viola. Andre is an Italian sculptor who came to America seeking new opportunities, but found none were available to him. Debt and anti-immigrant sentiment trapped him in mind work, which he feels is beneath him and his daughter.
All right. Ooh, I think I'm gonna go with Nathaniel. Nathaniel Freeman is a coal miner, the son of Eliza Freeman. Nathaniel is a hard worker, known as a good man in the mine. He prides himself on knowing when to keep his head down and when to stand up for his fellow workers. He leans heavily on his faith in the hard times. So then we're going to go back in reverse order for everyone to pick out their family member character that they want to play.
And I did a horrible thing. I was so busy showing off the amazing art for the characters that I didn't write everybody's down. Parrish, what was the first name of your character again?
Andre.
Pellegrini.
And then Jen, you had Nathaniel?
Yeah.
All right. And is it good for us to not pair up family members? Do you find it is interesting?
It can go either way. What I like for a 4-player game, I think that we could go either way. In the 3-player game, I would not suggest taking your own character's family member.
Right.
But with 4, it's okay if someone wants to do that. But let's see. I'm actually, because we're going back in reverse order. I think I'm going to play Simon Perry because I have never played him before.
Cool.
In all of my playtests and everything, there's like one character that I have not played yet. So I'm going to take him.
Make it happen.
All right, so Parrish, which family member do you want to play?
Okay, I'm going to have to think now because I was going to play Simon Perry.
Oops, I stole him.
I'm going to do Hannah York.
Okay. Jeff? Oh, actually, shit, we haven't been reading them off. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear on stream.
You're fine. Our only rule on swearing is that we try to keep it to one F word, mainly because it's a good challenge play, but depending on who's playing, sometimes that happens in the first like 30 seconds, then I'll just bets her off after that point. And so,
all right, so I'll read off Simon's card and then Parrish can do Hannah's. So Simon Perry is a journalist, the secret lover of David Burke. Simon is a journalist sent by his newspaper in Charleston to cover the strikes. He is sympathetic to the miners' cause, which infuriates the mine operators. However, he feels powerless to protect David and the other miners.
awesome.
Okay, I'll play George Bard then.
I think we were going to read off. Parrish, if you want to read off Hannah's card and then Jeff,
Oh,
that was Jeff who said Hannah.
We got turned around.
Oh, oops.
Parrish is going to play George who?
George, is it Baird or Bard?
Baird, I usually say, but either way.
George Baird is a deputy sheriff, younger brother of Lester Baird. George's first duty is to the law, and everything else comes second. He has to keep the peace. He has to keep the townsfolk alive. Sometimes he cannot do both.
And I'm going to choose Viola.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Viola is a washerwoman, daughter of Andre Pellegrini. Viola is still learning the ropes of life in America. She doesn't want to make trouble. She takes on jobs doing cleaning and washing for wealthier women in the community. She fears for her father's health almost as much as she fears this strange new country.
And then, sorry, I missed. So Jeff is playing Hannah.
Hannah York, yeah. Let me scroll down here. Hannah York is a midwife, younger sister of Kit Parsons. Hannah is a midwife who has helped bring many babies into this town, only to see them wasted in the mines. She wants to protect them as best she can, but in truth, she also wants to flee this horrible place.
And who could blame her? All right. So let's go through and do some of our character relationship questions. We'll pick up again with Tony and John.
Perfect. All right. So my character questions for John are.
Wait, did you say John or Jen or Jeff?
John?
John Bailey.
John
John
Bailey.
Bailey. Oh, sorry.
John Bailey, my character.
Sorry about that.
So it says John is an idealist who believes that things can and will get better. If the miners unite, but in private at home, he is at odds with his wife. Character questions, and these are ones I'm asking everybody else.
So you're going to pick 2 other characters in play that are not played by yourself, and answer those and say, I think John trusts Kit, perhaps, or
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go with George. So I think I trust George. So why do I trust George? George is the deputy sheriff, younger brother of Lester. Paris, that's one of yours, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that I view you as an individual who has like justice in your heart, and since I believe that the organizing is the just thing, that the law should be on our side, and so I think that's the reason that I trust you.
And then your second question
is, scroll back up. How do you persuade them? Let's go with Nathaniel for that one. Scrolling down, scrolling. Remind me who Nathaniel is again. Will you read that?
Nathaniel is the hard worker known as a good man in the mine.
I think how do I persuade them? I think my tact so far has been like knowing that they keep their head down. Essentially that if they help support this, that they won't have to do that much. Like that it'll be if they'll just kind of if they will voice their support, I can leave them alone and they can get back to work. Like it's almost the I'm going to bother you until you do this, so you might as well give in now.
I like that angle.
Vibe.
All right. So we're going to go to Jeff, and we're going to answer the character questions on Kit's card.
All right, Kit. Here we go. Kit Parsons. Question: why do you love them? Simon Perry. Why do I love thee? Tell me a little bit about Simon.
Simon is a journalist. He wants to help. He's sympathetic, but he feels pretty powerless.
Well, number one, I love his hat.
It's very stylish.
I love his whole vibe. But also he represents the big city.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to spread the word of what we're doing out here. And so we just have conversations all the time, like drinking,
I
whatever.
like that. And then your second question.
Second question is, how do you surprise them? Well, Viola Pellegrini, I speak Italian.
Ooh.
I just happened to pick it up, and so I bounce it off of you, and yeah.
Love that.
All right. Parrish, how about Andre's questions?
Okay. I think that why do you reject them? I think he is going to reject John Bailey's perfect idealism, because I think that he feels like things are unfair, and that idealistic attitudes are unrealistic, and that he's just too green to know it.
Nice.
I think that he manipulates. What's the tail name of that character? Simon. Kit, who speaks Italian.
Oh no.
And I think that he uses the relationship between Viola and Kit to do it. I think that because they have this special relationship, that he maybe gets away with asking one too many favors of Kit.
I like that.
Because he knows that he's really close to his daughter. Sorry, what are the pronouns for Kit?
It doesn't say, but I'm gonna go with they, them, or it does say they. So yeah.
Sure. Okay. So they.
Okay. So Nathaniel, let's see. Why do you praise them? I think Nathaniel praises Hannah, being like the midwife in the town. I think he really respects her for doing work that I think he feels is more honest and more valuable than what he does. Like he wishes he was doing work that made a difference the way that Hannah's does. And then how do you watch them? I think Nathaniel watches George. Like he's not sure at any point that George would take his side necessarily. He's not sure that, he wouldn't. But I think if George is around, Nathaniel's always going to be on like his even better than best behavior, just because he is the lawman. So then Simon, because we're going to go back snake style, Simon's questions. Why do you admire them? I think Simon really admires John Bailey. I think Simon sees John Bailey as someone who is a difference maker in the community, someone who's making things happen, someone who's on the ground doing the work every day. Whereas he himself is just kind of reporting on what other people do. He doesn't necessarily see himself as a doer. And then how do you shame them? That's a very fun question always. I think maybe Simon shames Andre, just trying to get him to, not manipulate the other miners or not reject John's idealism, just trying to get him to see things their way, perhaps. All right. So George's questions, Parrish.
Okay, so apparently I'm already playing both villains.
No, there's no villains in this game.
So why do you amuse them? I think that what character would be most amused by it? What's his name? David? No, Simon.
Yeah, Simon.
I think Simon is amused by George because he is acting in the capacity of the law, despite the fact that his brother is a coal miner. And so and he is very close to his brother, and so it is it could be viewed as hypocritical, but instead Simon views it as amusing and thinks that that maybe he could come around because he is not out to be malicious in his enforcement or spiteful. He definitely, I mean, still comes from a similar class background to all the mining characters.
Absolutely.
And how do you honor them? Who else are y'all playing?
We got Nathaniel, John, Kit, Viola, George.
He gets his washing done from Viola, and he tips her very well.
Okay.
Because he respects all professions.
I like that. Jeff, with Hannah's questions.
Hannah, yes. Why do you envy them? Oh gosh. This is weird, but she envies Viola's just fresh beauty, and like she's from somewhere else and is just exotic and everyone likes her, and Hannah just feels totally harried all the time.
That could be a fun angle.
And who do I control? Oh man, it's John Bailey. I'm all up in his business.
Well, you know, we did not take the Sarah Bailey character, but we can always have the other characters show up as NPCs. But do you think Sarah Bailey might be pregnant? Given that Hannah is the
maybe
midwife?
she hasn't told her husband yet, and I don't like him, and I'm always sniping him behind his back to Sarah. And so, like, yeah, I'm letting her do her thing, but I'm always coming around and annoying him. Inviting myself over for dinner, that kind of stuff.
Nice. And that brings us back to Tony and Viola.
Yeah, so Viola. Why do you lie to them? I think I let my father think I am much happier generally than I am.
Oh.
I absolutely like put on a face for Andre and don't let him know how deeply unhappy I am here where we are, and mainly because again I worry about his health so much. And then how do you indulge them? I feel like we've established a really interesting corridor with Kit for that.
Yeah.
Like I think because I feel close to Kit, because there's a little bit of a shared language, like I will spend a lot more time with Kit than I necessarily should, right? And so I think it's more just an indulgence of time and companionship than anything else.
Nice. All right,
That'll
so
be cute.
Those are our characters. What a tangled web we're weaving already. I love it. Definitely no problems in this town. All right, so we can actually just continue with the same play order for doing our scenes. Again, ordinarily I would have you like draw cards from the deck. I'm just going to read all your cards off for you because it's easier that way. So we'll give our first scene to Tony. So I'm going to read off a scene card, and you're going to pick which of your two characters you want to be like the focal character for that
Sure.
scene. Sometimes there's one where it's like, oh, obviously it would be this one, or sometimes it's like, ooh, which one would be more interesting? And then whoever else you want in the scene. Not all players need to participate in every scene, and we can play it by ear.
Sounds good.
All right, so Tony, your card is the school closed. The one-room schoolhouse has closed for good. The teacher has moved on to somewhere else, and there's no sign of a new one on the horizon. How are your children to escape your current life? Who will teach them?
Read it for me one more time.
The one-room schoolhouse has closed for good. The teacher has moved on to somewhere else, and there is no sign of a new one on the horizon. How are your children to escape your current life? Who will teach them? Of course, that being the community rather than
no, I understand that. I wasn't
yeah.
looking for that specifically. I just wanted to like kind of make sure I was grasping it fully. So I think this is an obvious and good entry point for John Bailey to try to rally some folks up around this. Like, I think maybe we find ourselves, we're ostensibly everything in the town is going to be relatively close to each other, except potentially where people live. But I think something like outside the schoolhouse near the square, we see it obviously kind of closed up, maybe boarded, not so much in a sense of like danger, but in a sense of, okay, like we know kids will try to get in here now because why wouldn't they knowing it well?
Because
and
kids are kids.
Yeah. And so, but I think for John, this is an opportunity to really kind of strike out at the company who, like, as a sign of them not being able to provide, and so has gathered some people around to talk about this. I think I'm pretty open pitch wise to who this is. This is John's attempt to curry favor broadly in the community. I think anybody who would potentially, I think anybody could potentially be there. Maternal and paternal figures in the character, people who have an immediate vested interest, I think would be his kind of his go-to audience for this, though.
I don't know that he'll necessarily have much to do in the scene, but I think this is something Simon would consider, reportable news, and he would be there, writing down what's going on.
I think Hannah has 3 kids, so she'll definitely be there.
Okay.
Is that okay? Can I invent children?
If there's a crowd, then I think George is likely to be in attendance.
If there's a crowd and a disturbance.
And where there's a crowd and John, there will be a disturbance.
I think it starts with John kind of actually like calling out to people from the front steps of the schoolhouse, and maybe we see Hannah, like he's showed up the day school is getting closed and boarded up. It's like Hannah's children have just been ushered out along with everybody else out of the schoolhouse. It's town pickup time, and he has, which he should probably still be, I think, working, but has taken the opportunity to leave the mines and come out to kind of seize upon this opportunity. There's the kind of a few simple statements asking everybody what their plans are, kind of just pulling people into conversation, essentially getting them to talk back and forth to each other until everybody's kind of a rabble, and we hear this kind of noise building up in the background of just lots of questions being asked, empty in an empty kind of capacity. It's like, this is exactly the problem. Like, this is something that the company should have provided for, that should be taken care of. They can't even help us, we can't even manage to have a teacher for our children. Even if they grow up to work in the mines, or if they go off, somewhere else in the world, they're gonna need to know how to read, how to learn, And if the company can't even provide the basic necessities of helping us educate our children, I mean, what are we supposed to do with them while we're working, while we're going about our jobs? Most of us have spouses who have other responsibilities. Who even watch the children during the day, and kind of has this speech about like the complete abandonment of this core thing that we need to be able to survive as a town, which is to care for our children, both in the larger sense, but also very directly in the practical sense.
Simon is like furiously scribbling all of these questions because they're very valid, and he does not have answers for them.
Hannah, what are you going to do with 3 kids?
Well, I'm not going to be able to take him to work.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not sanitary. They make a ton of noise. They will annoy the family. I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to foist them on other people. That's what a teacher's for.
He's right. We can't have a dozen kids run around here all day.
And it's a good point, George. Like, it's not your job to keep these kids out of trouble. I mean, you've got other duties
better
to
not
attend
become my
to.
job.
So.
George, what about your younger brother, Steven? Is he still off at college? He could be our teacher.
A man teacher? I mean, he's educated, but I don't think that's work for a man like him.
We're just gonna have to divvy up these kids all over town.
How would we get it? How would we get a woman to come want to live in this town anyway?
Not that it's my place to say, but it seems to me like they don't need to be a college educated person to be a teacher, just to teach kids their numbers and letters. It's maybe that's something. If some of the women in town could help out with,
Simon, you're really good at words, and
I was gonna say,
me, I don't know about that, but maybe I could help out just a little. I would like to help.
Well, at the very least, you can tell the wider world what we're going through.
Believe me, I will.
Shut up, Jerry. Quit poking the sheriff.
What about Andre's girl? She's smart.
She is.
Viola?
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's busy. I think she's busy trying to take care of her dad. Like he's getting up there a little bit, and she's got her own job responsibilities also.
Well, she does all the washing. Who's gonna?
Well,
we could make the kids wash the clothes.
Certainly, she could.
I mean, that's one kind of education.
I mean, I've heard her talking at least one language, so she has to know all the letters.
You'll have to make it patchwork, kinda. I think it's not going to be as good as having one dedicated real teacher, but maybe between me and some of the others we can put enough together.
Okay, can we do like a sidebar, me and John?
Oh yeah, if we want to do an interlude scene, yeah, after this.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah.
Cool.
This is Hannah and John.
I was gonna take him aside and be like, John,
oh yeah, no, we can do this.
I know your wife is real busy, but she could help a lot here.
That's something that's going to be up to her. But I mean, I think this is really a moment where we really need to put the pressure on the company to come up with a better solution here. I think we need to stand just kind of firm together. I'll see if Sarah can pitch in, but I don't know that it's something she doesn't want to. Every time I bring this stuff up, it's just another opportunity for her to talk about leaving town.
Oh, John. I'm sorry to hear that.
Are we in the interlude?
She's
No,
such
I
a
think this is
smart-
still just the main scene.
Okay. Well, I certainly would support that. I think it is. I do think it is up to the company to provide a school teacher, and I don't think it's right having those kids run around all day. They could be getting into trouble, and I'm hands full enough as it is.
It's a good point.
It's okay, everybody. We're gonna do our best, and we have to hope our best is good enough.
Well, Simon, maybe you could put some word out since you're here. Maybe write that into the story for us.
Yeah. Oh, I will. It's just, it's tough getting people to want to come out here.
See if you can get someone pretty.
Yeah. Okay.
George Baird.
Yes, ma'am.
See if you can get somebody that does art or music. How pretty they look. It's got nothing to do with it, George. We've had this conversation.
I reckon you're right about the teacher, but myself, I wouldn't mind a nice single woman moving into town.
Noted.
I wanna X real quick just to check in with everybody as we kind of end the scene because I feel like that's a good endpoint.
Yeah, that's a good scene,
Are we
yeah.
all comfortable with the casual misogyny and ethnic stereotyping that comes with this point in time? Is everybody comfortable with that? I think at the level that we just demonstrated within the scene, we're all pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go any further than
Yeah,
that
okay.
necessarily.
It's
I just wanna
kinda
make
we're
sure.
veiling bad attitudes.
Okay.
It was cute. I think.
No.
George,
I thought
we've
it
learned
was
that-
handled in very much in a this is the way of the time way. I just wanted to do a temperature check with
Yeah.
everybody on that,
Cool.
and so just that was it. So excellent.
I like Lonely George as a thing. Let's
I like
explore
Lonely
that.
George as a
Lonely
thing
George.
also too, and so
All
so
right.
excellent.
So our next card is going to go to Jeff. Jeff, I'm not sure if you were back yet when I was saying that I'm going to give you the prompt card and you pick which of your two characters you want to be the focal point for that scene.
Okay.
So this one, the card you have drawn is the company store. They've raised the prices at the company store. Every other store in town has been closed, and the company controls all the food and supplies now. It was hard enough to feed your families before the price hike. How will you feed them now?
Oh crap. Well, I think Nathaniel has to get in on this one.
Do you want this to be a Kit scene or a Hannah scene?
A kit.
Cool. Yeah, Nathaniel, I think, makes sense to be there.
Nathaniel gets things done.
Well, he's got an elderly mother. He needs to.
Yeah. And I think Andre?
Yeah, and I had
Solid.
also said that I don't mean to interrupt it, because I wasn't sure how much you had heard before. Not every player needs to be involved in every scene. We can
okay.
sort of flex it, and so
Cool.
it's totally up to you.
Yeah.
And it's also cool if we do get every player. in
Let's
certain
say where
scenes.
we're
Up to you.
meeting. Yeah, let's say where we're meeting. I think the company store, did you say it's closing?
No, they've raised prices, and the only other option in town has closed. So we are
Okay.
stuck with this.
So I run over to Nathaniel and I'm hopping mad because like onions, milk, like I was gonna make a quiche, and so I meet Nathaniel at like out back of his house where he sometimes entertains the locals with some homemade whiskey.
Yes. Nathaniel is well known for his bathtub whiskey. Yeah, Kit, what's got you all worked up?
You haven't heard the news?
No, what's going on?
Oh, Nathaniel. They raised the prices on everything. I can't get the onions and the flour and the milk and the salt. I'm down on almost everything.
Those sons of bitches, they did it again? They won't they're squeezing every penny from us.
They're doing it on purpose.
How can they raise the prices on us without raising our payment as well?
Is this Andre? Who is this?
Yeah, as Andre, you said Andre was going to be in the scene.
Yeah. Hey, Andre, you heard too, huh?
I just came from there. My pay will barely go half as far.
I feel like Nathaniel sort of like quietly pours each of you a drink. Not asked for, he's just like, yeah, this is what we need right now.
They might as well be paying us half as much.
And they know we're stuck. We can't like take the train over to Westernville to get milk. I mean, they charge twice as much. We're gonna have to be walking through the woods to get cheaper products.
Maybe, okay. Hear me out. Maybe we can stretch things a little bit further. Maybe we every couple days we do like a potluck dinner or something like that. We can get a bunch of people together and get the coin to go a little bit further with what we are able to get, just to make sure everyone stays fed.
Well,
Just a thought.
I could put that together. I think, Andre, could you host these things until we get a permanent spot?
Yes, I could do that.
Okay, you got the most sitting room.
Viola and I are happy to have guests visiting. Maybe just one person could travel and pick up things from another town for everyone.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. We can
Not anything heavy, of course, and not anything that would go bad. Not vegetables, and not something heavy like flour, but perhaps something
enough to help stretch things a little further. That's all we got to do for now to make it through until we can get them to see reason, is we can stretch things as far as they need to go.
Did they give a reason why the prices should be so much more?
They don't need to give a reason. They do it because they can.
It gets worse and worse.
It does. That it does. And he like knocks back the rest of his drink on that thought.
I don't suppose you have any flour or eggs sitting around.
I can check with Ma, see what we can spare.
All right. I'm still thinking about that quiche.
And I think is that scene.
That sounds good.
All right. So Parrish, our next card goes to you.
All right.
Speaking of which, did you know that speaking of quiche, did you know that West Virginia is the home of the pepperoni roll because it was such good mine food? It was a lot of fat and carbs, and it kept well, and so it is the origin of the pepperoni roll is 100% West Virginia coal mines.
What is a pepperoni roll?
It's like a hot pocket, right?
It's like a hot pocket. It's
Kinda
like
hot
no
pocket-ish.
sauce, but it's bread with cheese and pepperoni inside. Just FYI, just a little factoid.
Maybe Andre could make that once a month.
That's our real story here. Is the origin of the pepperoni roll. That's what we're going to play out.
We call it salami.
All right. So your card is economics. Times are tough everywhere. People are desperate for jobs. They'll take any job anywhere. Every day, more and more people arrive by train to find work as a coal miner. How will you make sure these new people are prepared for the reality of life in the mines? So you can decide if you want that to be an Andre or George scene.
Huh. How are we going to start that off? Who are the good supporting cast members for this? Help me with help me with that one a little bit, team.
I mean, I feel like John Bailey is 100% here for let's engage these folks early. Like, whether his true motivation is like, I want to prepare you for life in the mines, or like, I want to start convincing you now that we have to unite against leadership is questionable. But I think he would 100% be ready to be a part of that.
Jennifer, how do we engage these NPCs?
So if anyone has, like, if I don't feel, for example, that Nathaniel or Simon necessarily has a lot to do in this scene, if you could choose, if you think, oh, it'd be really good if we had someone playing this other character, I'd be like, oh, cool. I don't really need to play either of my characters in this scene. I could play them. We could just make them up.
I mean, the sort of newcomers.
Oh yeah, I mean, we can make anyone up if we want to. But yeah.
These are mostly men, right? Out of work men.
By and large, yeah.
Yeah.
Tony, I like that, and I feel that despite the fact that Andre rejects you, that he rejects your leadership, he still is unhappy, and so I think that Andre and John in this scene is maybe a good conflict.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do we want to pull in anyone else?
I think it's a good start, unless somebody has a character they really want to have there.
I
think Hannah might show up later, but I like
you
Jen.
can always have someone show up later in a scene, and that's fine too.
I like Jen playing an out-of-town worker.
Great. Well, let's see. Then let's have that idealism versus radicalism conversation.
I'm gonna play Jerry, who just got off the train from Charleston. He got laid off from a big factory, and now he's like, well, gotta put food on the table somehow.
So we'll assume that can we assume that introductions have happened?
Yeah.
But I'll start with, so I presume you have come to work in the mines then?
Yeah. It's I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be hard, but I think I'm ready for it. And he's like got this big fresh-faced grin on. He is clearly not ready for it.
I came here 2 years ago, much like you, after I was unable to find work in my own profession as a sculptor, but this is not the digging through rock that I wish I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is coal's always going to be there. You don't have to worry about coal shutting down. But here's the thing you got to understand. It's not what's in the mine that's the hardest work. It's the fact that the people above us don't want to listen to what we really need to make it work the way it needs to.
Oh, I hear that. We had factory foremen like that. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, you know what it's like. The ones who just want to sit in the office and call the shots, but don't know how to get down there in the dirt and do the work.
So they're the same here, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you got to be ready for it. It's one of the reasons like we like to create a tight community of workers. Just like Andre said, make sure you're taken care of, that your needs are met. But things are tight here also too. But there, like I said, there's plenty of coal in there.
Could I ask you something, you two gentlemen here? If I, as a new guy, I hear about cave-ins sometimes. You ever been through anything like that?
There cave-ins certainly have happened here.
Yeah, but the most important thing is getting leadership to cave in on really making sure that our needs are taken care of. we had to close the school a couple of weeks ago because they don't seem to care.
They push us to go too fast and they do not put up the proper structures. We could prevent cave-ins if we put up more supports, but they just.
And that's why we need your support against those, against leadership. Like we're glad to have you here, Jerry. Like I'm super excited.
Well, I'm real glad I met you too. I'm sure we'll all look out for each other down there.
Okay, Hannah bursts in the bar with a kid on the hip, and she's like, "John, your wife is wondering why you aren't home for dinner. Oh, hi, who's this?"
This is Jerry.
Oh, hello, ma'am. I'm Jerry. I'm new in town.
Howdy, Jerry. Welcome to town. I hope these two aren't filling your head full of frightening tales.
Oh, no, not at all.
Andre?
We haven't had the worst of it here, but I heard in another town that when a family, a man was killed in the cave-in, the company, they threw his wife and children out in the street in the rain. These coal companies, they do not care about people.
Nope, that's why we gotta make them care. I've gotta get to dinner. We've got a community meal that we're doing at Andre's now. Every once in a while, first one's coming up. Jerry, I hope we see you there.
That'd be real nice.
I would welcome you there as well.
Real glad I fell in with you guys.
And all right,
that
Jerry.
Scene where we have like this poor clueless new guy. Oh, poor Jerry.
Terrible. He picked the wrong time to move to mate one.
He's doing his best. All right, so my card is local elections. There's no way to prove it, but the mine operators had to have stacked the elections. The pro-union candidate for sheriff was soundly defeated. Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. What can you do to push back against his pro-company agenda? Oh, this has got to be a Simon scene.
It has to be George, right?
I'm thinking Simon and George are going to have some interesting conversation here. Does anyone else have a strong feeling of a character they would like to get in on this conversation?
John has thoughts on this, but I think I'm going to reserve for a burst in later if it gets interesting.
Fantastic.
I wouldn't mind being the distraught union-friendly mayor or sheriff candidate that lost.
Oh.
I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, we can make him up. We can make up that guy.
All right, we'll call him Tuck Johnson.
Tuck, the would-be mayoral candidate or sheriff candidate who was not. Cool. Maybe I'm just sitting down to interview the two of you about what we think went down and how things are going to change in town.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for meeting me, for being willing to sit down and chat with me about this. So I hear there's been some bad feeling in the community about these election results.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. I'm here again, just like I was, and Sheriff Post is coming back just like he was. I certainly would have welcomed Tuck had he won, and I fully would have supported him.
Mm-hmm. And
this ain't right. That's all I gotta say.
Now, George, would you say that Sheriff Post is disliked among the coal miners in town? Would you say that they aren't fond of the candidate?
Yeah, well, it would not be incorrect to say that Sheriff Post and I have a bit of a good cop, bad cop relationship with the miners. I try to get along with him as best as I can, and he is not always so popular. But going forward, I want to do my best to help improve relations between them and him as well.
Perry, is this off the record? Can we go off the record?
Simon kind of like quietly closes his notebook. We're
I was
off the record
robbed.
now. What makes you say that?
You tell him, George.
What? But I don't know about that.
What?
I was not in charge of the election, nor did I have anything to do with the counting. I like I said, I think you would have been real popular had you won, but you didn't win. And
Post is a company stooge. He's been bought off. His whole team is bought off. You know they ain't closing the company store to them. They're getting a little piece of the action. I'll tell you what.
hey, look, I don't know about that. The votes show that that Sheriff Post received more of them, and I can't say that that they all came from people who voted, but I also can't say that they didn't. So I just gotta go with what the tally is, and we just gotta move forward and do our best.
All of a sudden, like John knocks on the door, right?
Simon gets up and answers. Oh, Mr. Bailey.
Oh, Simon, you wanted a quote from me. The quote is horse shit. John,
You tell him, Bailey.
John walks away.
Now, I don't know if my editor will let me print that exactly. I don't know if my editor will let me print that, but we're going to find out. I feel
I
like
could
that
be a school
scene,
teacher.
right? Like,
that job's open, I hear.
Sure is.
All right.
Tarnation.
I feel like that scene. That's good. I like the John Bailey horse shit interruption.
Nailed it.
And that is the end of fall. So I think we said we were going to take a 5-10 minute break here. A little bio break
so we're
time.
just a short little 5-minute break. We're playing The Price of Coal right now. We are going to be back continuing to play in just 5 minutes, which would be 30 till or after the hour, because that's how time works. 30 is right in the middle. It is live right now on Kickstarter. If you type in ! The game, it'll drop it right into chat, but the link's also right down below my face right here, ttrpg.link /CoalKS, and we will keep on playing when we get back in just a few moments. Hey everybody, we'll be right back in just one second. I want to let you know I dropped the link to the game that we are playing, The Price of Coal, into the chat. If you want to go check it out over on Kickstarter, it is funded, but they would love your support. It's been an absolute blast to play with Jen. We'll be talking a little bit more about the game and answering any questions you or we have after playing it at the end, so stick around for that. Also, while you're out navigating around looking at different crowdfunding projects, if you want to go over to ttrpg.link/DWGLive to check out the game we have up on Gamefound right now, you help support the channel, you help support us, and it is a minimalist OSR game by Marcus Linderum and a global team of creators. So we would love to have any help you can give us with that, even if it's just sharing it online with people who you know would enjoy the game. But first and foremost, please go over and check out The Price of Coal at ttrpg.link/CoalKS. We'll be back in just one moment. All right, we are live again here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. We are playing The Price of Coal, which is about labor rights and the Battle of Blair Mountain. Jen, real quick before we dive back into the second part of play, into winter, tell us a little bit about where this idea kind of originally started from. Like, what was the thing that made you want to start designing The Price of Coal?
The funny thing is, it was actually a book of poetry. There's a book of poetry. I actually have it next to me. It is about the same year that we are playing out. It was written by the daughter and granddaughter of coal miners, and this was something I had never heard of. And so I read this book of poetry just because it looked interesting, and then I was like, what the hell happened? Because I had never learned about this in school. And I'm guessing, unless you grew up in and around West Virginia, you probably did not either. And I was just so infuriated that I had never learned about this in school, that no one had ever talked about this, despite it being the largest worker uprising in U.S. history since the Civil War. Wow. And I did not want it to be erased or forgotten. So that's where it came from.
All right, well, I'm super excited to talk more about that as we get into our reaction roll segment, but I'm looking forward to finding out what happens in winter. It's a question. I made a couple dumb time references earlier, just kind of thinking time has certainly passed. Is there like a proposed, this is how much time passes between scenes, or it could be like this one happens and this one happens, or it could be a couple of months, or whatever you want. Cool. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's pretty loose, especially because, like, you might have some scenes where you draw them in such an order that it makes sense that they're right after another, or that there's been time passing. So it's pretty flexible.
Awesome. Perfect. Let's go ahead and dive back in.
Yeah. All right, so we have our sort of season transition card. This is not a scene necessarily. This is just to sort of make sure we're all on the same page about what sort of we're getting into in the next season. So the fall to winter transition is that situations that were already ugly are turned even worse by the arrival of winter weather. An eviction might be serious in summer, but it is lethal in winter. No one dares mutter the word strike yet, but it is on everyone's minds. So that's about where we're at. And Tony, your card is Influenza. A nasty flu has spread around the town. A sick man collapsed in a faint in the mine yesterday. Your children are glassy-eyed and feverish. Can you afford to call the doctor? Can you afford not to?
I think this is a great Viola scene. As soon as I drink some water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe
can we afford what, or can we afford not to?
Can you afford to call the doctor? Can you afford not to?
I think this is a Viola scene, but it's a scene that Viola has watched play out numerous times rather than having had it played out numerous times. I think maybe if we were to smash cut it a little bit, we would see like Viola going from house to house, like in the wealthier part thing, and in those houses we see the doctor sometimes being there, sometimes it's not, but there's always the concern, even with the money that people have for the wealthier part of the community, like how that's being managed. But I think as we kind of transition back over to the part of town where Viola and Andre and a lot of the miners live, we don't see the doctor in any of those scenes as Viola kind of works through and does small things to help people out. Maybe coming upon, let's see. Maybe this would be a good time to bring in Kit. I know we've done a lot of Hannah scenes, and that seems kind of natural in some ways because it's a little bit more homesteaded, but I do think it'd be fun to play up this relationship a little bit because we haven't had a chance to yet.
Yeah.
So maybe it's in Hannah's home, but Hannah is about business, and Kit is watching a sick niece-nephew, I believe is the relationship that would be the relationship there. Does that work?
Yeah.
All right. Is anybody else present for any reason? Anybody else have a strong inclination?
Well, this is Andre's house, right?
No,
Where
this
your
would be
kids are?
Hannah York's house. This would be the York residence. This would be Kit's
Okay.
sister's house, maybe his house also too, depending on what the living or their house, depending on what the situation is.
Okay. The kids are these Viola's kids or Hannah's kids?
These are Hannah's kids that Kit is helping keep an eye on while Hannah goes about the business of the day.
Gotcha. So
Hannah
I'm Harry.
Hannah is out haranguing
diapers.
John Bailey right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ran out of clean diapers, so you've run over to.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm just helping out with because I think essentially Viola is constantly exposed to the illness anyways, and so it's kind of like has taken precautions, but is also if Viola's going to get sick, Viola's going to get sick. There's not avoiding it necessarily, and so. Let's play the entire scene in Italian in our minds also.
Let's do it.
So the kids don't know what's being said at all.
Yeah, in the movie that is this game, we have
yeah.
subtitles for this scene.
So how have they been?
It's bad. Viola, I know we've been friends for a while, and I worry about you. You know, this flu is so bad, and you're going house to house. I don't know. I don't know if you should keep doing this.
I mean, it's the only way that we can eat. Otherwise, there's no food to be had. I mean, my father's pay, it covers less and less. I worry more about taking it home and him getting sick. I've been sleeping in the front room and having him go out the backs in the morning.
This is scary. These kids, you know, I've been around since these kids came out of Hannah, you know, and I just couldn't bear it if one of them were to get real bad, you know, and we can't get a doctor. We're barely making it as it is.
No, but I asked the doctor, when I saw them, what could help, and he told me how much medicine was, and I don't think there's anything we can do, but he said, lots of liquids, keep them warm, So I brought clean bedding for them. You know, tell Hannah always worries so much, so I waited till she was gone because she always wants to pay me, and I know that she does not have the money either, and so I just wanted to make sure that they were taken care of.
Well, you're just the sweetest person in town, I swear.
It's the least I can do. You know, I'll leave them here, but I mean, you know, you may want to put them in front of the fire for a little while to warm them up first before you give them to the children.
Oh, sure. All right. You know, Hannah's been going to see this, you know, old Maud. She's kind of a quack medicine type, and she's got real low prices, but I don't know if any of that stuff even does anything.
No, but old Maud, I talked to her. A lot of the same advice the doctor gave was what old Maud said, but also to put a duck foot underneath each of their pillows.
Yeah, them things starting to smell bad.
Yeah, but she also said once it starts to smell bad, you have to boil it, and then drink what's left.
What?
I mean,
You're
I'm
messing with me.
I'm not saying do it. I'm saying that's what old Maud said. I would not do it. I would not listen to old Maud.
Do you want to stay for dinner? We got a quiche coming. We had to skimp on these are. Don't tell nobody, but these are robin's eggs. Don't ask how I found them.
No, I don't think it's a good idea for me to come in. You know, I've spent the day around other families, and they, you know, there's many sick ones there. So I don't want to increase any chance of you getting sick or me getting sick.
Well, I could come out there if you want to.
No, it's okay. I think
barely touched anyone in weeks.
Well, it's appropriate to social distance at times like these. And so, no, you need to take care of yourself, and she'll come a little bit closer. And like put her hand, like there's like an instinct to come a little bit closer and like put her hand on your shoulder and be like, you know, like don't take care of yourself. You need to get him back inside where it's warm and take care of the children.
All right, thanks for coming.
You don't want that
over.
quiche to burn.
No. Oh.
All right. That's,
Pots jangle.
I think it's a good scene.
Yeah. I like the touch of the robin's eggs. It was a good note.
I was trying to think of eggs that are large enough. I'm sure they aren't. But there's a lot of scavenging when when the depression and whatnot. This isn't that, but yeah.
But no, it's absolutely the similar circumstances. People would be hunting, people would be foraging. All right. And that brings us to Jeff. Your card is A Strike in Ohio. Your neighbors in Ohio have declared a strike. You feel the yearning to join them, but the mine operators here are already cracking down again. How can you prepare to join them when the time is right?
I think Nathaniel has a big truck that can fit several of us who are on our off shifts or whatever. You can fit a few families in there to go and wave signs. The men folk take their rifles, you know, just in case. So like 20 of us are barreled into Nathaniel's truck.
Yeah, like everyone is crammed together.
Yeah, Hannah's got her 3 kids, and yeah. Or 2. I think one she's left with someone else. The infant.
All right, so we've got Hannah and Nathaniel. Do we want any of the others in this scene? Who else is coming with us on the strike truck?
Not Simon. This is a secret operation.
Yeah, no Simon here.
I mean, John Bailey's helping people up in the back of that truck.
Yeah. John's got to be there. And I think George Incognito.
What? I think George is probably not there, but maybe depending on how things go, he ends up interrupting and shutting it down. But that is I think he's probably the least likely person to be on that truck.
Okay. So maybe we haven't left yet, and Andre comes to like talk to John.
I mean, it's up to Parrish if he wants to be in the scene or not. I do like the idea, though. I think of gathering to go do this, like getting ready to go show support, rather than being on the way. Like, because I think the question of do we go to support or do we get ready here is a good tension to explore.
Yeah. Okay. So John, help me with Riley, and I lift up one of my kids. And
I mean, I told you, like, I mean, I think it's good to have bodies on the line. I just don't think that putting a kid in your miner's hat is going to convince anybody that they're on the picket line.
I'm just not sure it's going to be safe to have kids there. I don't know what we're walking into when we get there. We know they're striking, and that's all we know. We're walking in blind.
Nathaniel, we got room on the truck. Most of the men are in the mine or sleeping. We got to fill this truck. We got, they can carry the milk and the water, and the Patty can carry these jacks in case we need to slow down any of their trucks or cars or whatever. We got.
I'm not one to tell a mother what to do with her kids, but if anything happens, it's not on me.
Well, I know that's usually your attitude, Nathaniel, and so I appreciate you driving this whole party.
Look, I mean, here's the thing. I think, if we decide that this is a route that we're going to go down in the future, I think it's good to get a look at what works and what doesn't work in other places.
Right. We're not going there to cause trouble. We're just going to support. And, families are a part of this. Well, families are a big part of this, and them owners got to see that families are hurting, and if we don't stop them there, they're going to pull this stuff here.
You're right, ma'am. That's true.
Look, I'm just saying, like, I think we keep our eyes open. We keep our heads down. Like, but I think this is a chance to learn a whole lot about what we might need in the near future.
That's right. And John, are you gonna go into the mine or just stay out with us?
Well, I mean,
you have a plan.
I mean, I think the goal is to just kind of talk to the locals, figure out what's going on. I don't know if they're striking down in the mine or if they've got a picket line set up. I mean, I'm not sure exactly. When we get there, we'll kind of have to come up with a plan.
All right. Well, I know Kit probably doesn't want me to go, but some of us got to stand up. We got to believe in something. And John, you got everybody riled up with all your big talk, and now you're
no, I'm saying, do that. Big talk means big action, but big action takes big plans,
All right.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of big talk without any big action to follow it up.
Well, that's big plans take a little while to get together. I mean, what do you want to do?
I guess we're going.
Patty, don't touch that. That's gasoline.
I feel like that's a good end to that scene.
God.
They called it gasoline back then, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Although a truck probably ran on something weird like kerosene or
maybe diesel, probably.
Yeah, diesel, I would think.
Cool.
All right. Parrish, your card is a corrupt union leader has fled in the dark of the night, taking with him several months of union dues. That money was supposed to be for the sick, for the evicted families, for the crippled. What are they going to do now?
So we had some unionization?
There could be some. It could be in like a neighboring town. It could be, you know, we had some people signed up, but not everyone. It is up to you, my friend.
Okay. I think, either of these is actually really easy. Last time I had the opposite problem, that I didn't feel like either one was a good fit, but now I feel like they're both such good fits.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I think I want to take Andre because I think he is, this is indicative of his jaded belief that it's all going to go wrong even if we do the right thing. But who wants to join him?
Kit's out of control. Kit is like hopping mad.
Where is it happening?
Okay, that sounds great. And then do you want, since we have a Kit and Andre scene, do we want to pull in Viola?
That's why I was asking where it was happening, because that's gonna really be the bigger indicator on whether Viola's there or not. Like if this is at their home, then 100% Viola will be there. If this is at a minor oriented location, then she would not be, probably.
Let's have it at a potluck.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
And then I have the question, is this something you want reported on, or is this something you want to try to keep quiet? Because I think that impacts whether or not Simon is there.
Well, since it's at the potluck, I think Simon is Simon at the potlucks?
I'm not sure if he goes. I'm not sure, because he gets his paycheck from the city. He's, you know, he's not necessarily in the same strait that you guys are. So
I think Kit has a bit of a what do you call it, like bromance going with Simon, and is trying to drag him into this, trying to get him to be a school teacher, you know, trying to
tie him down locally.
Yeah, has finally gotten him to come to potluck and see what it's really about.
Okay, yeah, Simon can be there.
I am all for the unionization here in town, but next stop over in Westerville, the union chief just ran off with all of the dues. I do support some type of organization, but I cannot contribute my meager earnings in a case where they're just going to get run off with.
Yeah, I heard things in Westerville are pretty bad. It's, you know, people were already upset, people were already mad, and this just made everything worse.
Liam O'Shea is a son of a bitch. And if I was a violent man, I would do something about it. But this isn't what unions are about. I've listened to John Bailey giving a speech the other night, and he said that unions are the people speaking together, holding each other up in the light of God. And this man, Liam O'Shea, is a Christ-hating son of a bitch. I said it.
And then, like, Viola's in the background, like, taking care of dishes, moving things around, rolling her eyes extensively at this point in time.
I feel like Simon, like, listens to that little speech, is like, and can I quote you on that? For the paper?
You sure can.
How did, Simon, did you hear any reaction from the people, the people, union members that he stole from? Is what has happened of the union, and what has the what has the company done in reaction?
Well, I wasn't able to. I didn't in the articles I saw. I didn't see anything from. They didn't quote the miners themselves. Basic mistake. But the coal managers said it was their own damn fault for starting a union, but they should have seen it coming.
Yeah, see, I have already seen it coming.
Viola drops a big fresh hot pepperoni roll on the table. Il gemito, like all you do is wine. Like everything's bad. Whether we do something or don't do something, it's bad. Everybody every week gets together at these potlucks, and everybody, all you do is wine. Like do something or don't do something. Have a union, don't have a union. Make a choice.
Viola makes a lot of sense, Mr.
Storms off in a huff.
Mr. Pellegrini.
How would we know if our union chief is going to do something like that?
John Bailey would never fiddle with the funds. John Bailey's a hero of mine.
Oh, so immediately I say union chief, and you assume it would be John Bailey.
Well, who else would it be? Not Tuck Johnson. He couldn't run for dog catcher. All right, he's not here. Simon, don't say that.
Notebook is closed.
Yes, yeah, Tuck is certainly hot-headed. I would no doubt prefer John, and I do trust him more.
Well, I'm not saying Tuck would ever abscond with funds. I mean, that's just Liam O'Shea. We all heard the stories, and yet, well, you know, that town, they loved him, and he mistreated them, and we won't let that happen. And we will punish anyone who did such a thing, Mr. Pellegrini. You have my word on that.
Viola comes down and drops a quiche on the table.
Yes.
Oh, Viola, you are just bringing out all the stops.
They're robin eggs. Don't get excited. Look, you all already get together every week. You talk. Like just make it a vote. Decide to have a union or not. You meet together every week already.
Here. The lady has the right idea.
She storms off again.
I would support a union. I just want it to be a person I can trust. Why not you, Kit?
Oh, Mr. Pellegrini, that you are doing me a kindness.
You're young. You do not have the burden or trouble of having a family yet. You're liked by many people. You're trusted by me.
Curse words come out of the kitchen that imply Viola takes great offense to what her dad just said.
Wait, what did I say?
That he wasn't burdened by a family, or that they weren't burdened by a family.
Well, you know, honestly, sir, I would like to have a family. I just haven't come across the right person as of yet. But I just think the world of John Bailey, and you know, if somebody needed to watch the funds, I could maybe be a treasurer. I've had a little bit of bookkeeping experience, and you know, you could trust me not to make off with the kitty. I'm an honest, God-fearing man. I wouldn't do such a thing.
I could trust you.
I feel like maybe that scene, like that moment of trust between these two, like that's great.
Man. And that subtle, like, you need to get married kind of twist hiding in there.
What are you, my grandpa?
Well, I mean, I think they're angling.
All right, so that brings me to me. Okay, my card is a cold snap. Winters have never been the easiest in West Virginia, but this one is especially tough. It's freezing, and your small heaters can barely keep up with the cold wind. But God forbid you be allowed to use the coal you mine to keep your family warm. How will you survive? Ooh. I think this has got to be a Nathaniel scene. Here's a thought. What if this is a scene with all 4 of our miners, and we try to steal some of the coal off the belt as it's going through the coal tipple?
We got a heist scene happening here right in the middle of the price of coal.
We're interjecting a heist scene. But what if, or maybe we're just
wonderful.
talking about it, and we're planning, wouldn't it be crazy if?
Yeah, like how easy would it be for me to like it's every step of the process. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Andre's 100% in.
Yeah, I think maybe we get all 4 of the miners in on this one. We're sitting around shooting the shit, and it's us being like, wait, that's crazy, but is it just crazy enough to work?
Sounds good.
Where's this taking place?
I was thinking probably either at someone's house or like in the shift change room or something, where like, you leave your lunch pail and your
Right.
gear when you
Do they
pop
leave
in
the
or
mine
out.
for lunch?
Most of them would actually bring their lunch and work and like eat in the mine while they were
you know what they were
working.
eating, right?
Pepperoni
rolls.
Yeah.
Let's be in a disused section of the mine, like one that's been
A mined out section?
set aside.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So there was a safety room in there where you go if there was a gas situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they see by torches or electric? It's gotta be.
At this
We have
point, we would probably
lanterns?
have lanterns.
Yeah, sure. It's like not a torch, but like a fire lantern then, like a kerosene lantern.
Kerosene, yeah.
Yeah, I think kerosene might be the most likely at this point.
Okay. I'm just trying to picture
building the scene in our minds.
And we
Using
probably
our
have those.
imaginations.
We probably have those lights on our hats. Was that a thing that early?
I'm not sure. I don't know
It'd
that
have to
those
be
were
battery
a thing
powered,
yet.
right?
Yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah,
would
that
have
was
to be
pre-battery, huh?
So yeah, that's why it probably is kerosene lanterns.
So it's like that really dramatic flickery light. It's
Right.
good.
Okay.
As it waves across us, and sometimes we're in the dark and sometimes we're in the light. So,
Mm-hmm.
Look, I mean, I know we're owed. Like, I mean, we all know we're owed. I would never be one to propose just taking anything that wasn't ours, but
But listen, you know me. I'm a calm man. 6 months ago, I never would have thought of this. But my ma's freezing at home, and I hate to see it, and I don't know what else we can do.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, they're not. If anything, pay's going down because it's not like. I mean, they're not actually taking the money away, but they're making everything more expensive. If we could, we'd all buy the coal.
This would just be one slice of a great salami.
It wouldn't be like we'd need a whole lot just to heat a few houses. It's
I mean, even just one house where the families could go during the day and just be warm. Like, I'm not, like,
that's smart.
I don't have kids, but I mean, if I did, I mean, it's not like they're at school. Like, they used to be plenty warm during the day, and so I'm just saying that some place that our families can get a few hours of warmth. I mean, it's once we get working down here, it gets pretty warm, but up there it's It's unbearable.
You know,
Well,
that's a good thought. It's does anybody check on the schoolhouse, do you know? And could we persuade them to look away from it?
I mean,
right? Have folks sleep in there or spend time in there?
Stay warm together.
right.
Well, I've been putting a list together of, I got old Mod, I got your mom, Nathaniel, people who just can't be cold all the time. And I've done a little bit of the figuring, and the way I see it, we got to take about 7 pounds of coal per week just to keep folks alive. And that means like an ongoing theft process.
You know, I don't think it would be hard. You know, if each one of us got a little bit a day, I don't think it would be hard. I mean, I think most of the boys would be done. I talked to Jerry the other day, like he was used to the heat of the factory, the cold of this mine is getting to him. I know he'd be in. I think Lester's the one I'm most worried about. I don't know how he would feel about hiding this from George.
Maybe we don't bring Lester in on it then. I hate to say it, I love the guy, but if we're worried about someone squealing, maybe we can't trust him.
Andre, you're pretty close to Lester. What do you think?
I think he knows what it takes to survive, and I believe that he would be on our side in this.
All right, we can bring him in. I mean, like I said, I don't. He and his brother already don't get along, and I don't want to make things worse between them. All right, so I guess we're all agreed. A little bit each day. Focus on getting folks to the schoolhouse. And maybe if Lester doesn't want to take the coal, maybe that's his job, is just to kind of get George, to not worry too much about what's going on over there.
I think it's a good plan. And we just need to make it through until this cold snap breaks, and we'll be okay.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Scene. Yeah. We're gonna do a coal heist
Got
gradually over the course of several weeks. So that was our last card of winter. It's one of those February cold snaps. So our winter to spring transition card is that strikes are taking place throughout the neighboring states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky. Workers there are beginning to see a ray of hope that you haven't seen in a long time. How long until they reach West Virginia? How long will the miners take this treatment lying down? So our first spring scene goes to Tony.
This is a good question to ask. Potentially the beginning of the game, but I'm going to ask it now. Is there a narrative point at which strike not necessarily becomes the it happens? Like, is it a summer thing, or is it a spring thing, or is it just when?
We could so I like to leave it a little bit open to give the opportunity to declare it earlier if we wanted to, but the spring to summer transition is the latest point that it can happen, and at that point it just happens. Okay. So yeah.
We either decide in spring or it happens in the spring to summer transition. Okay.
Yep. All right. So Tony, your card is Black Lung. Someone died of the miner's cough this week. Too much coal dust in the air, even for those who've never set foot in the mine. How long until you too succumb? Can you last long enough to make sure your family survives?
All right. Let's see. This will be a John scene for sure.
I promise this is random, but I think in almost every play of the game that I've done, John gets Black Lung. I don't know why it's always.
I wasn't gonna give him Black Lung.
No. It's just he always gets this card, and I'm like, what is it with this card showing up for John's player?
This is a John scene for sure. I do think this is somewhere. Who's the whiskey person?
Nathaniel.
So I think I'd love to pitch this as being a gathered around Nathaniel's whiskey barrel conversation.
For sure.
But I think the conceit is we're discussing Jerry's funeral.
Oh, Jerry. I love that, but oh.
He just wasn't built for coal country.
Yeah.
Poor bastard.
Anybody else who feels like they would be there?
I think Hannah's there because she's essentially the poor person's doctor at this point.
That's
like,
fair.
She was the first one to find him. You know,
old Maud no longer trusted after too many people got sick from eating rotten duck legs.
Duck tea did not go over well.
Cool. Pears, do you have anybody who you want to particularly have there, or are you good? All right.
Okay.
I think they'd both be at the funeral, but probably not at the
at this conversation. That's fine. Well, we tried to prepare him as best we could. I gave him plenty of pointers about dealing with things in the mind. Andre even gave him a few. I guess we didn't talk about, about the coal dust and making sure you keep your mouth as well covered as possible.
I mean, even then, we know guys who are way more careful than that who still get it. It's you just never know.
Yeah. You do everything you can. You watch these guys come in from out of here. They don't have coal in their veins, and you hope for the best. You hope they might be able to settle down, but I know it happens to locals also too, but it always seems like the out-of-towners, and it never seems like the ones you expect.
Sometimes I feel like a ticking time bomb when I walk out of that mine. I feel like I can never get it out of my lungs, never get it off my skin.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes Sarah, she'll I'll be coughing in the middle of the night, and she'll just send me out to sit on the porch, because otherwise I'll get the sheets covered in soot from all the stuff that's coming up.
I've seen you out there, John. Yeah, June is expecting, and Jerry being gone. Well, that ain't gonna end well.
We'll have to make sure that June and the baby get taken care of.
I'm just sick of seeing you men folk get all sick and choking, and even some of the kids. It's just floating around in the air. I can't save anyone.
Yeah, I think we could press again for better equipment, masks and stuff like that, but I think we've got to. I think we ask and we ask and we ask, and I know we're supposed to talk about it, at our next meeting, but until we're ready to take the fight to them, I don't think they're going to change anything. I mean, we've asked so many times.
I think we got to say you find a way to blow that stuff elsewhere, or contain it, or we're going to have to do something. Shut down the mine. Slow down the work, something.
And that sounds like you're talking about a strike.
I'm thinking maybe a wildcat, just in and out, see how it affects the air. Something to start with, John. Even I didn't want to say this in front of Nathaniel, but Sarah ain't feeling too well either.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she coughs too. You didn't know?
I mean, I've heard her cough. She hasn't said anything, though.
I think everybody's feeling it.
All right, well, I'll talk to the boys, and maybe we'll get something done.
Kit's been reading up on devices.
I don't think that's a good choice.
What kind of devices?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I know they involve dynamite.
That kind of devices.
Don't tell Simon.
No siree. Something tells me he'll find out on his own anyway. He's nosy, that one.
Yeah, I don't know if we can trust him.
Well, I mean, I want miners safe, but I don't want the mines closed. I don't want to see this town fall apart. I want to see it come together.
Mm-hmm. Fellas, tonight, let's not talk anything rash. We can drink to Jerry's memory tonight.
To Jerry.
To Jerry.
To Jerry. And June.
And June. And I think that's scene. Oh, rip Jerry.
Apparently, of course, I have the two most radical characters.
What a surprise. Jaco Bryan 42 says, "Was I the only John who didn't get black lung then?"
Yeah, he's one of my good friends for my home group. Yeah, pretty much. And ironic because his name in real life is also John.
John, you don't know what you're missing out on. And so maybe one day.
All right, so over to Jeff. Your card is a new coal vein. A new vein of ore is discovered, and the greed of the mine operators is palpable. They're bringing in more workers, younger than ever. Green miners that blindly follow orders are a danger to everyone. How many miners will die before you can teach them?
This is heavy.
Mm-hmm. I probably should have mentioned that the cards do escalate throughout the year just a touch.
Yeah. I think it's got to be Kit, and I think it's got to be George, and not Simon. Who plays George?
Parrish.
Okay. I think Simon might be eavesdropping.
Oh, I kind of like that. He's starting to violate his code of journalistic ethics.
Yeah.
I actually don't necessarily have somebody I want to be in the scene, but I kind of have a pitch for location / flavor. What if it's like when the normal established miner community meets for meals, and what if it is in the whatever passes for local drinking establishment that isn't Nathaniel's backyard? And therefore Simon has a little bit of a reason to be there and kind of be picking things up, but it's just a bunch of young miners drinking and carrying on, and who have refused to kind of integrate into the local community as well.
All right. So Kit's got some whiskey. He's a light drunk. What do you call it? A lightweight?
Lightweight, yeah.
And he's been tying one on, and he sees George.
Oh.
George, I know you know what all this new hiring is about. These guys don't know shit.
Kit, you got it wrong. I don't work for the company. I work for the town, and I work for the people of the town.
Well, they got guys coming in on buses with armed guards. We don't need that. You got to know about who's got a weapon on them coming into town.
Well, a lot of folk here have weapons lawfully, and
I ain't talking about duck rifles, George. Sloshing. Simon, you know something that you ain't telling.
Me? No. They're bringing in more guys. It's what they do.
I think they're trying to squeeze us, and they want an accident. That's why they bringing in these rubes. They want to see something happen. They're escalating.
What are you implying? What are they trying to see happen? Another cave-in?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. I'm sure you heard something. You know these guys. You hang out with these guys at the what's a game they played back? I don't know. Checkers over at the club there for the fancy people. You go in and out.
I do check in at clubs all over town. But
Kid, I think you've had one too many. I think you're stretching, friend.
I'm telling you, these bears are hiding something.
my brother works hard with you, and he is committed to educating these greenhorns and making sure that they learn how to swing a pick right.
Well, me and Mr. Pellegrini tried to be instructors, and the company just wrote us off. So I don't think they want experienced people teaching these guys. No offense to Lester. He's smart
Kid,
enough.
It's no conspiracy. They want young guys because young guys don't know how to demand better pay. They can pay them less than they can pay the experienced guys. I think that's all it is.
Don't tell John Bailey that. You laugh, but John Bailey will take this all the way up. I only haven't said anything to him because he's got a lot going on.
Maybe someone else should take it all the way to the top.
That's why I'm talking to George.
Kit, if you want to file the formal complaint as the union rep, then I could certainly take that down, but I don't think this is the time or the place for it.
Union rep. I pull my suspenders.
I do think it is about time that your union get make a decision on who's going to represent you, and Kit, this may not be your finest moment, but I do think you'd be a good person for the job.
Well, George, I wouldn't mind meeting up with you and Lester before you go see them bigwigs next time. I got some things to say.
I am not working for the company, but I would be willing to file the police report for you.
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that.
I think you can do good. I think you can do good by working with the law and filing your complaints officially and getting that writ down.
All right. Stumble off. Run into something.
Scene. I love it. I'm sure Kit's not going to get up to any more trouble.
That's right. That's straight talk. Totally set them on
the straight and narrow.
I love that George is a milquetoast deputy. Like,
I can write it down for you.
Well, I think I think George also supports unionization, and so he really doesn't want to have to shoot y'all.
Yeah, that's valid.
Because unionization means formal power structure, which then the law can actually deal with in reasonable ways, as opposed to angry mob, which they
he believes in law.
So I think before next scene, I think 3 miners got stuck and gassed and died.
Ooh. And that actually is an interesting segue into our next card. Parrish, your card is Trains Stopped. Except for freight trains bearing coal, all trains coming and going to the town have been stopped. There's no people or supplies coming in or out. If you had ever thought of leaving, those hopes look dim. Why has the company cut you off from the rest of the world?
What are you guys feeling? Would you rather do? I feel like we just did a people angry at George and he's not really able to do much about it scene.
Fair.
So
So let's
maybe,
do another one. No, I'm just kidding.
so
I mean,
if you guys want to do a different one, the same one with another cast.
I have 2 thoughts. Interesting one. What if the train being stopped is actually some rabble rouser in the union's malfeasance to kind of escalate things? I'm not saying that it was Kit, but not saying it wasn't. The other one is, what if the take is like this is to stop the word from getting out? Like this is basically an attempt to silence Simon. Is another kind of interesting, like, which whether or not that's true, our perspective on it could easily be like the word was getting out, things were about to change, and this was an attempt to silence them. But or none of those. Like neither of those is also fine.
This might be radicalizing Andre a little bit. I don't know if if he goes on trains or if it affects him at all. But
no, I like that because I think that he is the one of the most ready to be motivated characters. So let's take Andre out and bring along Nathaniel. No, where's this going to take place?
You tell us.
Yeah, I know.
I guess the question is, what is Andre planning?
I think Andre has been pushed enough by his daughter that he wants some action to happen. And so I think Andre reaches out to Kit and wants to push for more people to join the union. So and to formalize a union leader. So can I have all the miners?
Yeah, let's do that. I like that.
Okay. And it can be at supper at my house.
Okay.
Cool. Let's say it's after the potluck has ended and everybody's left, and
most people have left,
and it's like a secret kind of meeting.
Okay.
Or there's just a few left.
Like families have gone home.
Yeah.
Miners linger.
Even Viola is out.
Yeah. That was some mighty good pepperoni roll, Andre.
I bring the recipe from my home country, but I make it very different here, and I'm glad it can suit your taste.
Yeah, we don't have semolina wheat here, so that's probably different.
Yes, but the bread she bakes up about the same way.
Yeah.
it is the cheese that I miss the most. The mozzarella is not the same here, and it certainly won't be now that we can't get supplies anymore. The only thing coming in and out of this town is coal now.
Yeah, and we got all these new miners that are spooked because they didn't train them right. We got 3 of them dead. No, not enough food. Like, folks are gonna starve. We're out here in the woods digging up roots and things.
It's interesting how the company can manage to consistently get the coal in and out, but that there's no room for people on any of those trains, or supplies.
Well, there's still food, but it's getting more and more expensive at the company store.
Mm-hmm.
I run into some of them workers out near the tracks, out east of the town. That bunkhouse they got.
Yeah.
And I talked to some of them fellas, and they say the trains run about 3 a.m. pretty much on the dot. And I'm thinking that might be a good time to raise up a ruckus in town. Remind folks why we're here. Maybe bring
What
Simon
type of
out.
ruckus are you thinking?
I'm thinking a diversion is what I'm thinking.
For what?
I don't know. You tell me, John.
I mean, it's not my plan.
I'm saying if you rallied the troops in a big speech situation and maybe stop that train from moving, some other enterprising youngster might see fit to drop a few things on that track there, so that when it goes, people are already out in the street, for a hell raising.
I mean, I guess I don't know to what end. Like, I mean, everybody here is already angry, so we're just going to make things here worse than they already are?
We can't go blowing up that train track. I'm going to say that now. Listen, you were talking dynamite before. I'm not.
Well, I never said nothing about dynamite. That was someone else. I don't know where you heard that.
I hear talk all over the place.
Has Hannah been talking about that? I told her that was just some light reading.
Sure.
I think that since the Jerry died of black lung, and then we lost 3 more men just a few weeks ago. I think that many of the new guys this year would be interested in joining a movement.
I mean, we've all been talking about it forever, but I mean, I think now is the time. I think you're right, kid. I think the trains need to stop, but I don't think blowing them up is right. Like, they need to stop until we can get them loaded up with supplies and food and everything else that we need going both ways. I mean, I think the coal needs to stop going out, but I think that, I don't think blowing up the tracks the way to do it.
This is it, John. To get the other things to come in, we have to stop the coal going out.
100%. I mean, like.
So what say we let them load up the train, and we put all our boys on the tracks. They can't get past us.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you think they've already been going through body after body here? Do you think that's really going to stop them?
Depends how much Simon sees, I think.
What if we just stop making the coal?
I want to muck up the works. What if we just stop it right as it's going to the train? With that big hopper.
The tickle. Yeah, we could.
We axe that somehow, and that'll kick things off.
I mean, if they can't use the gravity loader, they're not going to be able to get the coal on the train.
It makes a statement. Makes a good statement.
Now,
like
who's willing
this.
to bang into that thing with their truck or cart or whatever?
Well, you boys might remember I've got a mighty big truck.
That feels like a good end scene line.
Yeah.
Right?
Truer statement has never been said.
Okay, and then my card is, oh yeah, that's definitely a Simon one. Anti-union legislation. You never expected your legislators to do much to help you, but Congress and the president have signed into law a new piece of anti-union legislation. Without representation, how will you force them to listen to you? So this is definitely a Simon scene. I feel like Simon, he probably gets word of this first, like coming in from his home office or something like that. And he's like there when it hits the local paper, or is just telling you guys about it maybe. I feel like this is maybe Simon and John. I don't know that we've had a Simon and John besides that one horse shit interruption.
That's a good one, though. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's just the two of us talking about, what this means going forward.
Yeah. Well,
maybe you've prepared some good words for Simon to send back to his paper.
Yeah, I know, it's great. Well, Simon, I appreciate you having me come down, but you didn't run my last quote, so I don't know what's going to come out of this conversation.
I asked my editor. He didn't. He said he had a problem with the word horse shit. That was all.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of shit out there, but it seems like a lot of it's come to town. So, I mean, whatever type of shit he'd prefer, I would have been happy to provide a new quote.
John, this new law, it's real bad. They're saying that they could make it against your contract to gather to fraternize because you could be plotting. It's going to be a problem for you guys.
I mean, us, what now, like they're saying like, hey, we can't get together for our Sunday dinners. They're going to just stop families from getting together on the Lord's Day, a day of prayer. This is something that they I thought we had religious freedom in this country. I thought we had the right to assemble. Apparently, none of that matters. If the coal lords aren't happy.
You got that right. It's listen. I wish I could do more to help. I want to print something, and I think my editor will go with me on this. If we can get a big statement, a big public letter from all the guys, that we can get all of the guys to sign on to, talking about how the governor isn't listening, the senator isn't listening, none of them are listening, there is a chance we can get this front page in front of everyone.
I mean, I think, we've come together a number of times before. I think we're all thinking it, and this has been really demoralizing. Everybody was right on the edge of being ready to go and being ready to, put some real energy into actually getting a union started. And, now some of them are just afraid, but I mean, I don't know about the new guys. I mean, they're not happy, but they don't know any better. This is kind of the bill of goods they were sold. But I mean, like, I think we can get all the other guys lined up for it, and probably get them all signed on. I think the other ones will come along if we can get that going. But I'll put it up. I'll stand behind it. I'll draft something up for the boys that doesn't have any kind of shit in it, and see what we can do.
Wish we could do more. It's the high and mighty up there. They're not going to listen to us unless we do something big. And like, I feel like you kind of noticed that Simon is including himself in the we now.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, trains aren't coming in, trains aren't going out. Do you have a way you're going to get the word out on this?
Yeah, I can get it to him.
All right. I appreciate you putting your lot in with us, but you don't got coal in your veins, but I think you might have some in your heart.
That's the end scene line. That's
Beautiful.
Simon has coal in his heart. A thing that would never be heartwarming in any other context.
That's right.
All right. So our spring to summer transition.
When stuff gets real.
Oh, yeah. The West Virginian mine workers are declaring strikes and tensions are boiling over. The mine operators refuse to budge on even your most basic demands. You can't keep this up forever. Now is the time to make it clear to the operators that you're never going back to the way things were. So just for some clarity on the ordnance card, because that is the card that ends the game, it gets randomly shuffled into the season's cards for summer. So it could show up at any point this season. It'll be a fun surprise for us all.
And depending on the number of people you're playing with, are you pulling cards out of the deck to make that happen? Or
yeah. Okay. So basically, the game comes with 7 or 8, I can't count, 7 or 8 season cards for each season. For a full length game, I would do like 5 per season. We wanted to trim this one a little bit, so I've been doing 4. So it's somewhere in the stack of 4 cards.
Cool.
So wait, when you do 5, does that mean that somebody goes twice?
Yeah, but you just keep going like from that person.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
So in a 4-player game, everybody would go twice, once per season.
Yeah.
Like in one season.
It would still work out that you would
Right.
you would pretty much get
Right.
an even number of scenes.
Do you play 6-player games?
6-player games originally, yes, but we found that the game goes really long with 6 players.
Uh-huh.
Especially with like the relationship setup and stuff, it just ends up taking quite a while.
Okay.
So we don't recommend it. It does technically work, but if you want to set aside like 5 hours to do it.
What's your favorite size?
I like 4, actually, personally the best. I think 4 is the right size for this type of game. You nailed it.
All right.
All right.
So theoretically, this first draw could be it too.
It could. It could. I have had it happen. It is very abrupt. But, it's not this time. Tony, your card is martial law. They've declared martial law in the region. The military is being brought in to enforce curfew and prevent gathering, arresting those who defy them. Your rights mean nothing here now if they ever did before. Why are they doing this?
This is Sunday dinner in the dark. It doesn't have to be all minors. I'll actually do.
Can Hannah be there?
I mean, whoever wants to be there can be there. Actually, I say that and like John, even though it's Andre's house, I think John will be the one who's there. Viola will be off doing keeping watch.
Viola, she gets sidelined, even in most of the house scenes.
But consider she might be safer that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are less family dinners now and more disgruntled minor dinners. But yeah, if Hannah wants to be there, that's 100%. Fine. Andre, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Cool. And then is Nathaniel there also, or is
He might be there, but he's probably still pretty quiet.
Or Simon, whoever. I mean, I never. I mean, when we sent out that letter, I would never have expected this.
This is unconscionable.
It doesn't even feel like we're living in America anymore. Like I don't even understand what's happening here.
Some of the guys we fought in the war. We fought to save countries from being like this. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I know we all got to get home soon, but think we've got to figure out, like, are we, like, I don't know if I can go down to the mine anymore. Like,
I don't think I can. Not for this.
I mean, I'm not a machine. I can't go into a mine all day long, come out, go home, go to bed, wake up, do the next thing with no sense of joy in my life.
What other choice do you have, though? You just be arrested?
They can't arrest all of us. If we're united, I don't think they could do it.
Yeah, then we must all be united.
Hey, John, you're still up. Hi, it's Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah, come on in quick.
Hey, I'm sorry to barge in on y'all like this, but Sarah's trying to convince me to drag you out of here, and I disagree. I think we need to act, and act now.
I mean, that's what we're talking about right now. I mean, like, I don't,
I figured as much. She like makes a seat for herself and she says, I've got an idea.
All right.
We take charge of the jail. Set out Emilio and Perry, let them out. That's right. Right in the middle of the daytime. George can get stuff. Tuck. We'll trick him out of town. And we'll just come right up in Post's face and say, these are our demands. You get these laws fixed. Straighten it out.
I mean, I don't know that Post has much of a say anymore.
Yeah, I think they've brought in people over Post's head, although he's certainly happy to work with them.
I said we make a statement. They did this over in Tennessee. I say we follow suit. Take over that place. City Hall, hell. The corner store, we do it all.
I mean,
Hannah, I used to think you were the sane one of your siblings.
Now, I like you, Nathaniel, so I'm going to let that go.
Have we considered that maybe with this new change that George would even join our cause?
He might.
I mean, he's not happy. Post is happy, but George does not seem to be.
Kit's
been working on him.
And
and Lester has too.
Yeah, what has Lester said? Perhaps he could simply lose the keys to the jail.
Now that's a thought.
Yeah, I mean, Lester's been one of the most upset, so I imagine, that shouldn't be much of an issue. All right,
George and me used to have a thing back in high school days. I could probably work my magic, convince him to come on board.
Well, I guess the plan is, if we can get the keys, if they can't, they can't use the jail, then they can't do anything else if we decide not to show up to work tomorrow.
There you go. Hell, I'll put on a gun belt. I'll be sheriff.
We may just need we may just need something that extreme. I have heard it's not going quietly and things not going well when they're under martial law.
I don't think we have any other choice at this point. And he sits back and sets his drink down, and he sort of looks around and he's like, I think it's now or never, boys.
Yeah. Well, I guess that does it. Unless those soldiers are going to work it, the mine is closed.
Let's do.
They wouldn't do that.
I mean, you're right. That's kind of the point.
And I think that's scene.
Okay.
That's we have our plan. Everything's gonna go great from here, guys. I promise.
It's gonna be
We're gonna.
awesome.
I told
It's-
you we're gonna be the first players to win this one.
It's all up from here.
Martial
Oh.
law.
Well,
Ordnance.
so as it happens, I have drawn the ordnance card. The United States military is dropping gas and explosive bombs from World War I on you. The government is treating you like traitors to your country for defending your human dignity. Despite everything you've sacrificed, they've won. In the aftermath of this horror, what happens to you and your family? Do you survive? Everyone may now narrate an epilogue for each of their characters. And we don't have to go in any kind of particular order for this, just sort of as you think of what you think happens to your characters in the aftermath of all this.
I'll start.
Mhm.
The plan worked perfectly. Hannah convinced George to go off with her. She stole the keys, gave them to Kit. Kit gave them to John. Andre provided the weaponry. Y'all seized the jail, let out the town drunk, and Hannah got shot.
No.
Yeah. She'll make it. Don't worry.
Okay.
But she's also in jail.
She's also
Or in
jail.
soldier custody, whatever they call that.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think John I think John dies. So I think John he attempts to rally as the soldiers are coming in, he kind of attempts to rally people and get them to hold the line. And it's not even in the bombs or in the gas or in anything else. It is a blow to the head on the first day of the picket line, where John goes down and just doesn't get back up.
I feel like Nathaniel survives, but he's got the worst case of survivor's guilt. He feels like he survived because he was a coward, and was not around for the dangerous parts. But knowing that John was there and did make that sacrifice, I feel like Nathaniel steps in to take care of John's wife.
I think that Andre probably takes an active role in the resistance, and feeling like fleeing would be futile. That he probably dies taking an active fighting role.
Oh man.
So Kit was delayed, so he wasn't able to take part in the jail thing. I think he was his car broke down or something. He was stuck outside of town. And by the time he got there, John was dead. Hannah was in prison. And he met up with...
had been shot.
Yeah, she'd been shot. And he stood up after the shooting was done, and he took John's role and is trying to rally the troops. And he also asked Andre if he could propose to Viola.
Heartbreak.
Or they, excuse me. Got my pronoun wrong.
The I think that Viola kind of like, I think it's unclear. This is meant to be like super dour. Like like Viola is used to needing to take care of somebody, and so like I think is in kind of traumatic shock as all this happens, and certainly like ascends and goes along. And it's not in a like, there's no advantage being taken care of Viola here. I think there's like genuine affection both ways, but I don't necessarily think it's necessary. It's not a considered action in the way that it probably should have been. And I think, Viola reflects on her like dad's love of art and the stories that are had, and writes a book of poetry that eventually inspires somebody to make a game based on the events of the Battle of Blair Mountain.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
I think George wants to support Lester, and he is convinced to conveniently have his keys stolen, and does what he can to disrupt law enforcement, but he does not actively take part in the resistance.
And I think Simon, he is there for it all. He sees it all. He reports on it all, and he is fiery about it. And he stirs up all these sympathies back home in the big city, but he ultimately sees nothing change because of it.
Oh.
The best he can do is, oh yeah, the rich people are sending down some charity, and that's about as far as his reach goes. And I think that's our game, folks. How are you feeling? Let's do a little check-in and see how everybody's doing with our heartbreak here.
I am I am okay because we do the stakes going in.
I try to make sure people know.
No, again, I think it's
you can't spring this game on.
No,
people.
I think it's one of the things where it's like maybe let's I mean, I'll talk about this a little bit more in like our normal postscript, but I do think it's one of the great things about games that create clear stakes. It's always really interesting to me when people like rally against safety tools and toolkit play in game, where it's like, hey, here's the game I want to play, but then you also deal with all the weird conversations. If we sat down and we started playing this game and I didn't like it at all, and it's like, well, maybe if you had just had some conversations about the type of game you were going to sit down to play, you would have been ready for that. And I think this one, I think there's this game has a clear conceit about what it is from the get go, and I love the way that comes in. So yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time playing.
I'm glad, yay.
And it's all the sad feels are the ones I expected.
Yeah.
Paris, Jeff, how about y'all?
Yeah, I had read a good amount of the history of this beforehand, so I was ready for that situation. I was impressed how little we needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
How smoothly it went, even though we were not dropping or having specific historical events dropped on us. The story I told about the widow and her family being kicked out is historically accurate, and was a major impetus for public outcry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that was really important for me was making sure that even if you didn't know any of the history, even if you were didn't live in America or anything like that, that the problems these people are facing are essentially universal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was really great that we were able to come up with things that people deal with once in a while and put them all together,
The
because
world's
that's
worst
really,
year. This
yeah, I
was the
mean, that's
worst
really
year.
what history can teach us, is that sometimes it comes all at once. And with labor, like, speaking as a unionist, like, some of the worst behavior of government has been to punish the worker for just trying to get a little break. And that we got to live that, and just for me, selfishly, to be able to show the process of radicalization,
Hmm.
it really means a lot to me, to be able to, like, explore how do people react to a bizarre situation that shouldn't be happening. I mean, we saw the effect it had on George.
Hmm.
Nathaniel gave up his truck for the
Yep.
thing. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
really, I think it's that process of exploring like what drives people to this point.
Mhm.
Like you can read in a textbook or whatever that, yes, miners rose up against the US government. It's like, well, that didn't come out of nowhere. What got them to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the answer is martial law, right?
Basically, yeah.
Um,
Well, and I also think it's interesting because like we are talking. I don't. If you had said, hey, here's a role playing game based on something that happened within American history on American soil after the establishment of the continental U.S. Do you feel like you're going to be able to touch the context of what it was? I think most people in the States would say yes, absolutely. I'll 100% understand what that's like. And I think we look at the Tulsa massacre. I think we look at things like
Hmm.
the Battle of Blair
Which was the
Mountain,
same year. That
right?
was 1921 as
And we
well.
look at
Just a few months earlier.
these moments in American history where our government really has done horrible things to its citizens, and I think we tend to mentally restrict that back to like, yes, slavery was a thing, but that was a long time ago, or yes, like this happened, and then we find out that there's this kind of constant and ongoing process of the government failing to live up to the basic tenets that it proposes within its own borders to its own people in these small things, and there's an intentional effort to just kind of skip past it, gloss over it. And so to have a
Yeah,
game that stops and
absolutely.
sits with that is I think it's one of the most challenging parts about the game.
I've never played a game like this, I've been a trade unionist for years. I know the history up here in the Northwest, like the American Legion conspired with the
Hmm.
cops to like massacre people on the docks. Like, longshoremen waged war against the company union. Like, this game could be set in other places and be just as
Yeah.
powerful. And it's also very specific. So it's you don't just end up playing generic labor struggle. Like, you
Yeah.
get to know these people as
I mean,
people.
one of the things that was really important to me, I mean, I am not from West Virginia. I'm fully open about that. So it was really important to me to capture as much as I could this time and this place and
Mhm.
why it happened the way that it did in this time and this place, because this story has also unfolded all over the country at other times and all over the world. I mean, one of the big inspirations for this game was Red Carnations on a Black Grave, which is about the Paris Commune of 1871.
Yeah. I think one of my big questions is, we normally have this like thing we do where like we do a reaction roll, but we're already having a great conversation, so I'm not going to stop it with Patter. We're just going to keep on going for any
Cool.
normal channel watchers right now. But I think that's one of my big questions. Like the characters that you establish in this, like they're very simple. Like how much of that was sitting down and saying, here are a bunch of things we know are happening, or how many of those are pulled from specific instances or people?
So a lot of it was actually in the earliest edition of the game, which never even made it to the table as a playtest because I got the immediate sense that it wouldn't work. Every single character was a coal miner. There were no family members. There were no loved ones. And I realized very quickly how important it was to me to sort of have those multiple perspectives, where, you know, when you have these situations where workers' rights are not being respected, where workers are suffering, it's not just the workers who are suffering, it's the entire community. And a lot of the characters, they actually came from originally that book of poetry that I mentioned. You know, there was a poem about a man who had been a sculptor in Italy. And I was like, that's a really interesting character to play. Or some of them are sort of broader archetypes, like Kit being someone who pretends to be a man just to put food on the table, which is like an agonizing experience. And it's again, it was important to me to respect that breadth of experiences, that it's not just one perspective on this.
Yeah.
Another thing about the characters I noticed, and I'm curious if this ever got play tested in. Did you ever toy around with anybody who is part of the actual coal company as a player?
I did not. There are actually only 2 characters who like got to the table, like they got far enough in the game to get to the table, but didn't make the final cut of the game. One of them was like a preacher character. And I sort of evolved that character into Nathaniel's mother over time. And then there was a very thinly veiled Mother Jones analog, who I loved. I loved having that character there. But she just operated on such a different level than all of the other characters that it was hard to make her fit with everything else going on.
When somebody is already fully formed, like in terms of this person is doing this stuff already.
Yeah.
It's a little different than like watching a character show
Become
more.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're already an enemy of the state and wanted by the FBI, it's like, okay, where does this character even go from here?
Yeah, I it is so interesting. Like there are a couple comments in the chat by John and Corey, both of you. Thanks for hanging out with us about different things. But one of John's was, you know, it's really wonderful to see how the tragedy unfolds differently every time the game is played. His Viola had her deported back to fascist Italy for stealing from the rich folks, right?
Yeah,
like,
that did happen.
And so I think it's really like sitting down, even playing again, picking different characters or even the same characters, knowing that the selection of cards that's going to come up, the choices that get made at the table, the interactions, all those pieces are going to lean into it a little bit differently every single time. But no, I think, like I said, I think that's one of the beautiful things about For the Queen and other games like The Price of Coal that fit into that same vein of you don't know what's going to come up, when it's going to come up, how it's going to come up. And I thought it was such an excellent experience of play.
It's funny. A while back, I was concerned. I was like, "Oh man, replayability. Is anyone going to want to replay this?" And then I realized, well, I've already played this over a dozen times, and it's never played out the same way twice. So.
Right.
I think it really moved me, some of the stuff about the food and the heating. I mean, that was a huge part of any labor struggle, is just keeping everyone alive.
Yeah.
And the health. I mean, we had the flu. Like,
and one of my players, it actually may have been John in the chat, when we played this, you know, he pointed out that it was only a couple of short years after the Spanish flu, and would we think to wear our bandanas tied around our faces to prevent transmission? And it's like, yeah, we probably would, actually. I said it a million times while making this game, is that I wish it wasn't relevant, and yet here we are.
How long have you been making it?
I started working on this in 2018. So it's been a few years. Obviously, I was slowed down quite a bit last year. I had to make the transition to online gaming, which is not my strong suit. I've adjusted over the last year. Plus, it was just hard to get anything done last year. But that did have the silver lining of letting us launch the Kickstarter around the centennial. So it kind of worked out.
Is it powerful in person? I would imagine.
I've cried. I have cried running this game. I have made other people cry. Someone cried in the very first playtest of the game, and that's what told me that I was on the right track.
Hell yeah.
It's a very interesting kind of long form improv. And I don't think I've done long form improv before. And also what I thought was compelling about it was playing the same character. Playing the same characters and watching both the character grow and the characterization grow. Because when I came in, I had been planning on playing Simon, and
then I stole him.
Then he got nabbed, and so I picked up both Andre and George on the fly, and had not planned on playing either of them. So I walked in with just I had rehearsed West Virginia and Italian accents just in case, but not like
they came in handy.
And I did not much else.
Yeah, one of the things that I tried to be respectful of, I guess is how I'll put it in the design, is that this is a game that can ask a lot of people. But I also like to think that whatever you put into it, you will get back out of it. And if you give a lot of yourself to the game, you will get a lot from it. And there's definitely been players who have been more like reluctant to sort of get invested or to get involved. And I understand that, because especially when you're playing with people you don't know very well or things like that. But there are also times where people have just given everything at the table. And that's where I think the magic really comes in.
I think I made two mistakes, and I really need to stop self-censoring. One was where George was talking to Kit, and I should have just made the jump that Kit had become the union rep, like not in a scene, right? Instead of trying to make that happen in a scene, I should have just said that happened, and now you are, and Jeff would have just said yes. He's a good improv.
It's that improv yes and kind of vibe, yeah.
Right. But I think, and so go on, Tony.
I was gonna say, but I think a lot of that comes down to consent and play, right? And it's okay for somebody to be it's remembering, I think this is a hard thing, and it's one of the things I'm trying to get better about. It's one of the reasons I X'd at one point in time, not because there was a problem. I just wanted to check in.
Yeah.
But it's important to be it's easy to say as long as Jeff's okay with that, right? You can give the person the opportunity to speak into that of oh no, I really don't want that. Oh, okay, then it's going to be so-and-so, right? Or whatever. Or just knowing hey, they can X that and be that's not what I think Kit's headed.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we should become comfortable both using tools and just saying and especially in a GM-less game, it can be a lot harder.
And I actually think that's so valuable, is using the X card not just for triggering content, but also just, hey, what if this other thing instead? What if this was a better story if we did this, or something like that? And I think that's a really valuable use of it as well.
Yeah. It would definitely have been a twist, because Kit would become more respectable earlier, whereas he's kind of a live wire or hothead,
bit
or
of
whatever.
a hothead,
So a different twist to it.
I liked the idea that they were both a live wire with that ended up holding the power, and that's maybe what caused was the impetus. The second one was I should have pulled X card when Hannah was going to, when Hannah said that she was going to get George to jump in line, because I wanted him to hold his own action.
Yeah,
and
Understand.
I recognize that that was a nod to him sort of being Lonely George, but I also didn't want him to lose his agency for growth.
yeah,
For sure, yeah.
I, like I said, I think that's one of the things. One of the problems is we are oftentimes aware of, and I think this format, like GM-less, card-based, no dice, are some of the best tools to actually get comfortable using those types of tools on. Because there is this process of it. And realizing that like an X is just a pause, right? Like it's just like, hey, I want to take something out, or I just need to pause for clarification, and then to move forward a different way. And so
I didn't want to say no, but I also was taking the character in a direction that I didn't felt like I was losing agency of them.
Yeah.
And in a prior play of this game, I played with someone who is from West Virginia, and I got X-carded because I had mispronounced the name of Matewan, West Virginia. And I was like,
damn.
Shit, I should know that. I should know better.
They're like, no, I'm not. That's going to be a problem for me. We can't do that.
I mean, it's just on a basic respect level. If I'm writing about this place, that it's one of those things where you see it written down, but you don't hear it spoken. And then
I'm surprised you didn't get X-carded for no pepperoni rolls. And so,
yeah, that's true. There were no pepperoni rolls in the other.
Which I know
play.
seems like a ridiculous thing, but it absolutely is a real piece of minor
It is
history.
authentic.
And it is in some parts of West Virginia, it is a way bigger deal than anyone would expect, because we would assume that pepperoni itself is actually a European food, but it's largely American.
No, it's largely Italian American.
It's largely from like that, the Northeast region during this time period. And so, but it's just a really funny, like, I have a friend who was like always talking about how weird it is that everybody in West Virginia cares about it. And I was like, why? And then he told me, and I was like, I mean, that makes sense, but it's also just now a weird piece of knowledge that lives in my head. Let's talk a little bit about the project on Kickstarter. So it's been up for, you've got 9 days left to go at the time of our playing. You funded, congratulations, you got 610 backers. Absolutely gorgeous project. This is your first time running a Kickstarter, but you have backed 221 projects, so you're not new to the platform. You're a fan.
The day that we launched, my boyfriend was like, "Hey, Jen," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, 220, and I'm like, "Yeah."
And one more since then.
Yeah. Oops.
Great project, and you've got some great folks you're working with on it. So tell us a little bit about the plans for the price of coal, and what the funds are helping do.
Yes. So we have, because of the shipping crisis happening in the world right now, we've shifted to a US-based printer. They are a small sort of mom and pop type shop in Florida. So we are hoping that we're not doing official stretch goals, but we're hoping that with some of the extra funds, that since we've gone over our goal now, we might be able to get like nicer cardstock or sturdier boxes. Would be really nice to see, because one of the things is I really want to showcase the beautiful art that we have had done for this game. Our artist, Jacqueline Florencio, she is incredible. She is a rock star. The character portraits are gorgeous. That beautiful landscape of the mountains is so evocative. And I feel like that conveys so much. I feel like people are so visual, and I want to really showcase that art. But yeah, so we are hoping to get things rolling pretty quickly after the campaign ends. We're going to work with our layout person to get all of that beautiful art laid out in the most readable way with my mountains of text. And we are going to get it set up on Roll20, which I'm super excited for, to have an easy, nice way to manage this online, where you can have all of the information at your fingertips without scrolling through an 80-page PDF.
Awesome. And you are working with Unicorn Motorcycle Games on the
Yes.
project, right? So you've got Camden and Kate in
And
your
they have
corner
been
on this.
delightful.
Yeah.
Yes. I love
Um,
them.
I'm always a big fan of highlighting teams, especially really great experienced
Mhm.
teams, especially really diverse teams. I love Camden's work. I love Kate's work, and I've loved playing this game a ton, and can't wait to check it out more once it's in physical format. I've had an absolute blast. I do want to give our two other guests a chance to if you have any other specific questions that we didn't talk about, or any parting thoughts you want to share with the audience about why they should go to give this game a back, please feel free to share them.
I would like you to get this game and convince somebody to play it that doesn't know much about organized labor. I think this, whether it's young people or older people, maybe never looked into it, but it's so important to our history and to just our ongoing, I don't know, the mystery that is democracy. That's not what I don't know. But play it with new people.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage sharing it with people who have not done a non-combat RPG before. I was really impressed that it was essentially GM-less. I know you describe it as a GM-less.
I facilitate, yeah.
Facilitate, right?
Yeah.
You're a facilitator. But like I was so impressed at the ability to role play without dice or without an arbiter, or the ability for us to progress the story. And I actually attribute a lot of that to the compelling characters that you've written. I felt very connected to them, and you can definitely thank your artist too. It would be awesome having the character right in front of you, or be able to hold it up to the other members of the team, because I was scrolling through those faces on my screen, watching that face whenever any of you were speaking, and that totally helped me. And so we probably lost a little of that online, but I had it, and I loved it.
Awesome. Well, go, please, everybody. I just dropped the link again in the chat one more time. Please go check it out. Jen, if people want to be able to follow the rest of your work, see what's coming up from you in the future, what is the best place for them to do that?
Unfortunately, it is my Twitter full of bad movies and cat photos, but that is at JenCatWrites, JenKatWrites. I do talk about the games that I'm making. I just also have a lot of bad movie opinions and a very cute cat.
Awesome. And Parrish, where can people find you again?
ExploreAltera.com or at ExploreAltera on any platform you want.
And Jeff, where can people find you at?
I'm on Twitter at El Jefe Tacoma, and give my shows a listen. Shattered Worlds RPG, War for the Tower, everything is awesome. And check out the live stream, twitch.tv/Shattered Worlds RPG.
I need to add you to our auto host list, Jeff, so that you go up whenever we're not using our channel. You can pop up on it also fun. Too. So also, speaking of the channel, if you want to help support us, normally I would point people towards our Ko-Fi page, which is a great way to support us if you want to do it in an ongoing manner. However, right now the best thing to do is go over to ttrpg.link /DWGLive. I also just dropped that link in the chat if you want to. We've got a minimalist old school style role-playing game that is immensely low prep for the GM and for the players. All the core rules fit on a single A5 sheet of paper. We're funding over on Gamefound, which, Jen, that's a whole new place to start just racking up those backs on if you want it. We're one of only the second RPGs to go up over there, but it's a brand new platform focused specifically on tabletop games, and they would really love to have more of an indie RPG presence over there. So we are helping lead the way into that. So if you want to go and support our channel, that is 100% the best place to do it. We have a global team of individuals who designed that game. It's the first game we're publishing that I did not make, and I'm super thrilled with the work that Marcus and the team have put together on it. So go check it out if you want to check out other indie games that are way more trad and old school and way less, but no less story forward at the same time. And so please go check them out. With that said, we don't have a good way that we close the stream, so we're just all going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Bye, everybody.
Bye.